SCPs are some of the scariest creatures on planet Earth, and for the next 2 hours, we're going to be learning just a little bit more about them. Starting off with SCP-839, better known as Candied worms. And trust me, it sounds a lot better than it actually is. Make sure you guys watch until the end to become an SCP expert. Here we go, dudes. Strap in.
It's never a nice feeling.
Get ready for this one. This is weird.
Glass in the middle of the road. The dawn sky above the biker looks almost peaceful. It's as if nothing had gone wrong at all, as if everything is right in the world. But slowly, the throbbing pain washes into his helmeted head, and the sound of the traffic surrounding him rises in his ears. A sea of onlookers gathers around as the cars blast their horns. Through the cracked visor of his helmet, the biker can see concerned faces, people calling emergency services, and a few women crying. His paramedic bike is toppled on its side about 40 feet from him. There are long black tire marks running up to where it lies, smoking slightly on its side.
He must have crashed.
With a groan, the biker sits himself up and shakes his head. Bad idea. Looking around, though, it seems he's the only one injured. His bike had gone into the front of a car at the junction. The occupants of the car stand by nervously, offering him whatever little assistance they can.
I know that this has really nothing to do with the SCP, but like, this is why I am terrified of motorcycles. You never know when something bad like this could happen, and motorcycles are not very safe, so I don't know. This guy definitely is lucky to be alive right now because he got into a car accident with a car, and he was just on a bicycle.
But there's no time for that, the biker suddenly realizes. He looks down at his watch frantically.
What?
It's 12:03 p.m. There's not enough time.
For what?
He rushes over to the bike as fast as he can and
What's
lifts
happening?
it back upright. A couple of onlookers try to grab his arms, trying to sit down to rest, but he can't. There's no time.
What does he have to do?
He has just 3 minutes to get to St. Mary's Hospital in central London.
What?
Right now, he's at the junction outside Baker Street Station. He can still make it on time if he gets on his bike and goes now. The biker swings his leg onto the bike and kicks it into life.
What does he have to
takes a
get
deep
there
gulp
for?
And looks over his shoulder at the box on the back of his bike. He can't risk opening it here. The damage may already be done.
Okay, guys, I wonder if the SCP is in the box in his, motorcycle, or if maybe the SCP hasn't even been introduced yet, and maybe he's just like trying to get, like, I don't know, maybe some like an organ for an organ donor or somebody that like needs blood or something. Maybe he's just transporting something that's super vital that he needs to get it to the hospital immediately so that somebody like doesn't die.
But if the heart is still alive in that
it
box,
is. Okay, so it's just a heart
that a 10-year-old boy has for a normal life.
Oh, wow.
If he doesn't get to the hospital in the next 3 minutes, his life could be over.
Okay, so the stakes are very high right now.
Stand in a circle, looking down at the dead bird with a morbid fascination. Do you think it's alive?
Okay, that's Harry Potter.
The boy in the middle of the group goes to pick up a stick. With an air of false confidence, he walks up to the bird and gives it a prod.
Wait, is this the same thing?
It makes a squelching noise.
Ew.
The other kids all reel in shock, making retching noises and laughing about it. It's only when their teacher comes out to call
Okay,
them.
guys, I do have another theory, which I like to do during these SCP videos. I think that maybe the little boy is the one that maybe ate SCP-839, because the nickname of this SCP is Candied worms, which is like probably just like a gummy worm or something like that. So I'm thinking that maybe the little boy ate this SCP and then like it infected him, which is why he now needs like a brand new heart, because the SCP maybe took over his. That's my theory right now. I have no idea if I'm actually right, but let's find out.
Outside, that the group disperses, leaving the animal carcass alone, sitting at the edge of the playground, outside the view of boring adults. Each passing day, the kids wander over to the bird's body. It's kind of the best biology lesson they've ever had, as they watch the animal slowly decompose. At first, its body just shrinks, goes flat almost.
I don't know if I want to see this.
Feathers start falling out, and it loses all of its color. Then it starts to get puffy. Different parts of its flesh bulge out in weird places, as if they're being inflated like a balloon animal at someone's birthday party. But then, the maggots come. There are only a couple of tiny white crawling wriggles
I don't like it.
But a couple of days after that, it's infested with them.
I hate it. I hate that.
Wriggle all over the body. But as the boy looks down at the dead bird,
Harry,
he spots something very peculiar, something they haven't seen in a biology.
Please tell me. Okay, if he sees a little tiny gummy worm and he eats it, I actually might throw up.
Before, there's a red maggot wriggling and crawling in amongst the rest of the creepy crawlies.
What?
It squirms like the rest of them. But even over the course of the school day, it quickly grows larger than any of the others.
Huh?
What do you think it is? The boy stares at it. It looks like a worm. And a worm is exactly what it was. The next day, when the kids return, they see that the red maggot is
Whoa,
now much
okay,
larger
this is
than any of
gross.
the others feasting on
I
the
hate
bird.
this. I
With
want to burn
slightly
it with a
translucent
flamethrower.
body, cherry red coloring, and small white speckles on its skin, it looks unlike anything they've ever seen
I mean,
before.
yeah, it looks like a
Actually,
gummy worm
not
that has
unlike
sugar
anything
on
they've
it.
ever seen before. It looks exactly like something that all the kids recognize very well. In fact, one of the kids has a bag of them right now that he's chewing on.
I don't like it.
A candied worm. The
Good
kids stare
stuff.
in curiosity, first at the bag of candy that their friend has in his hand, and then down at the worm, slowly eating its way through the decomposing bird. As far as their eyes can tell, the two things are exactly the same.
Okay, I'm getting really
Except, of
creeped
course,
out right
that
now.
The one eating the bird seems to be alive.
I don't think I'm ever gonna eat any gummy worms ever in my entire life ever again.
Kids being kids, the next thing that happened was sort of inevitable.
Do not eat it.
One dares the boy
don't.
to eat it.
You don't.
He almost retches in disgust.
Yeah, don't do
There's
that.
No way
Don't
he's
do
even
that.
touching it.
Nope, don't do that.
Then,
No,
another
no,
one of
no,
the
no,
children
no, no.
throws
Wipe
down the
that
poison
smile off your
chalice
face.
and dares him.
Don't. Oh gosh.
The boy stands
He
there
double
nervously.
dog dared him.
He knows that he's not allowed to eat worms.
Well,
that had been
yeah.
a lesson ingrained in him from a very young age.
Are you what? This kid has eaten worms before? What?
But his mother isn't here right now, and this thing doesn't look like any kind of worm that he's seen
No,
before.
no,
It almost
just
looks a bit
N O. No, it doesn't.
In
No.
exchange for eating the worm,
Don't you
another
dare do
one of
it.
the children promises he'll give him 5 English pounds.
That's not enough money.
Kids around the circle gasp. That's a lot of money.
No, it's
None
not.
Of them have even
No, it's
got
not.
2 pounds on them, let
Don't
alone
do it.
5.
Don't do it.
Think of all the sweets you could buy with that kind of money.
Oh gosh.
But the boy is adamant. He puffs his chest out.
I don't
he
like
stands
this.
up tall.
I
and he
don't like
nods
it.
firmly. 5 pounds.
Don't do
or
it.
He wouldn't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
After some intense schoolyard debate, the deal is sealed. As the boy lies in bed that night,
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that I was kind of right. He ate the SCP. Like, that has to be the SCP. And since he ate the SCP, something bad is going to happen. And I think I know a little bit more information about this SCP based on so you guys know how like gummy worms have different colors, and I think every single color represents a different version of this SCP. So he ate a red candied worm, which I think might be why it's going to take over his heart. And I think that the different colors might take over different parts of your body. That's what I'm thinking, but I don't know for sure.
staring at the ceiling and grumbling, he knows that he's not happy about what his friends have done to him today. He's gonna get them back for this. Only he's getting a bit of a tummy ache. Getting is the wrong word. He's had a tummy ache for most of the evening. What he's experiencing now is heartburn. It feels as if something is crawling in his chest. The boy just ignores it. It's probably just his worries about the worm inside of him. He chewed it up pretty well. There's no way that it's still alive in him, surely. His uneasy sleep is punctuated by rotten dreams. Dreams in which he finds himself lying on the floor and his playground lying on the ground at school, unable to move as people gather around him to poke him with a stick. He feels his skin covered with maggots. They even crawl.
Okay, guys, this is creeping me out. Secondly, I think that I'm more scared of this type of SCP versus like Shy Guy or the statue or the prototype or the hard to destroy reptile. Like those SCPs are big, scary monsters that I know I should be scared of. This is just an SCP that is a gummy worm. It is, let me repeat, a gummy worm, which I kind of sometimes like to eat if I'm at the movies, but now I'm gonna have to think twice about it, which is just such a weird feeling. And also too, it creeps me out that it's just a bunch of worms. I don't like it.
Across the surface of his eyes.
I feel like I need to take a shower.
There's a searing pain. The boy wakes with a start as he feels his heart pounding, thudding against his ribs. It's agonizing. Adrenaline courses through him as he sweats off his face. Crying out for his mom, the boy lies there in bed.
Oh
feeling
no,
the heart
poor dude.
attacking his system. When you decide to become a surgeon, you have to accept that you're not going to get very much sleep most nights. In fact, it's more than that. You have to not only accept that you won't get much sleep most nights, but you also have to be at your absolute best when you've had no sleep and it's the middle of the night. With over 40 years under his belt, the surgeon doesn't need coffee anymore, even when the junior doctor offers it to him as he strides toward the operating theater. Instead, he asks them to fill him in on the situation. Who's his patient? What's going on? What needs to be done? The doctor accompanying him reads the notes in a calm but hurried voice. They haven't got much time on this one at all. At any moment, the boy's heart could give out. The surgeon asks what's wrong with the organ, and the doctor looks at his notes in apparent confusion. Apparently, over the course of the night, the boy has suffered a 72% reduction in the mass of his heart.
What?
The surgeon stops just on the other side of the door.
How?
He doesn't want to have this conversation in front of his whole team. He whispers to the doctor in a terse voice, "What kind of infection does this boy have that his heart has undergone that rapid of a deterioration?"
That's insane.
"It's not an infection at all, sir. Well, sir, it's a worm." The doctor holds out a sheet to him. The surgeon takes it from him. He looks down at the x-ray to see a scan of the boy's chest cavity. It doesn't look so bad. There's a hole in the heart for sure, but the surgeon has encountered worse in his career. "This was taken when the boy was first admitted." The doctor hands the surgeon a second x-ray.
Okay.
"And this was taken just 1 hour later."
What?
It is barely recognizable as a human heart. There seems to be a mass growing in the cavity that was left by the heart. And there, infecting all of the boy's
There it
organs,
is. The
was the
SCP.
shape of a worm. The biker weaves his way through the traffic down on Marylebone Road, eyes darting frantically in all directions. He may have a concussion, and he may not be allowed to drive at all right now. In fact, he knows he definitely isn't. But he is under strict instructions. This heart needs to get to St. Mary's Hospital before it's too late. The bike careens around the corner and skids to a halt outside the emergency doors. An ambulance team in front of him is trying to help an old lady out of the back of their vehicle.
Get out of the way, old lady!
He grabs the organ box from the back of the bike and races into the building.
Go, go, go. You got this, bro.
It takes all of his remaining
can do this.
concentration to navigate through the maze of hospital corridors on his way to the operating theater. On a better day, he'd be able to do this with no problem. But with his head injury, he can see the lights starting to blur all around him.
Pretty intense.
Ward 6, Ward 7, Ward 7A, Ward 7B.
Oh,
he
no.
runs as fast as his heavy
Does he know
boots
where to
will
go?
allow him, feeling that energy draining from his system. He can't look at his watch. He can't check the time. He just has to find this boy. Operating theater. There, right up ahead of him. Just a couple of 100 feet.
Come on, you got this.
There's a doctor waiting outside
Come
the door
on.
who looks up at the sound of his footsteps. The biker rips his helmet off and holds out the box
Go.
with the heart.
Yes.
Panting
Yes.
heavily.
Hopefully it's okay.
Moment of truth. Is he too late? The doctor looks shell-shocked. Not at the biker's arrival,
What?
but clearly at something else she's just seen.
What is
The
it?
man starts to explain, but runs out of words, and instead beckons the biker to follow him into the
Wait,
observation room.
what's
There,
going on?
The two of them stand looking through the glass at the little boy lying on the operating
What's
table
wrong with
the
him?
surgeon standing over him.
Oh,
There's something in the air. The biker sniffs, confused. Can anyone else smell sugar? Next time you open a packet of candy.
okay. All right. So what? The gummy worm got so big that you could literally smell the sugar in the room, which is terrifying. So it looks like the guy maybe made it in time. I guess we're just not going to find out. But wow, I cannot believe this SCP actually does that. Like it's a candy worm that takes over your body and just like eats you from the inside out. I don't like this. This actually might be one of the scariest SCPs we've ever learned about.
Candied worms. Take a second to look through the little creepy crawlies in the bag. Perhaps poke a couple of them, just to see if any of them are moving. You can never be too careful. If you had told the
I don't
parents
like
of that
it.
young boy on the night when their son woke up with heart palpitations, telling stories of eating a worm at school, that the only health concerns he would have going forward were mild diabetes and a slightly raised level of blood sugar, I'm sure they would have been thrilled to hear it. You see, SCP-839, commonly referred to within the Foundation as candied worms, is much scarier on the surface than it is underneath. Not only
yeah,
does
it
this
seems
SCP
like it.
resemble your usual candy worm, but its body is actually composed of sugar flavorings and colorings, roughly equivalent to what you would find in most convenience store candy aisles.
So that means that like it basically is just a gummy worm. It's made up of like sugar and then sugar flakes on top. That's all it is. So how could it be so bad?
Each instance even has a small raised bit of writing near the tail specifying which flavor it is. While the origins of these worms are yet to be determined, cases have sprung up across much of the Western world, with higher numbers reported in areas with higher levels of diabetes. There seems to be a parallel between high sugar diets and the presence of SCP-839. Whether they are of man-made or other origins is yet to be determined. That is not to say that SCP-839 cannot survive outside of human populations. This SCP in the wild primarily feeds on decomposing organic matter and is capable of sustaining itself on a purely vegetarian diet.
So wait a second, if the SCP, it can infect other creatures. It also just said that it eats vegetarian stuff. So it could eat leaves, it could eat grass. Why does it infect people? Why would it infect animals if it doesn't even like need to eat them? It could just eat leaves and grass for its entire life. So why does it like target people?
However, when ingested into the human body, SCP-839 will target specific organs and burrow its way towards them. The organ in question depends on which color candied worm the SCP instance is.
Okay, so
for example,
that was
red
correct.
cherry-flavored candied worms will burrow towards the heart and consume that.
I don't like the term burrow inside of the body.
Feed on the human's kidney.
Ugh.
One would expect the health consequences of this feeding to be severe. However, as the SCP feeds, it will also change its own shape and chemical composition until the worm itself becomes a substitute organ for the one that it is consuming.
What?
However, this substitute organ is not a perfect replacement, as other health consequences are derived from its presence.
Well, yeah, it's not like you could just like replace a normal heart with a gummied version of a heart. That's just, there's no way that could ever work.
For example, the green apple-flavored SCP-839-3 targets the eye and replaces it with a jelly green version of the human eye. While this eye is mostly capable of sight, subjects have reported mild hallucinations and blurriness of vision, as well as a greenish tint to how they see the world.
That's so weird.
Fortunately for the Foundation, SCP-839 reproduces sexually, meaning that individual instances require a partner in order to have offspring. This
and that's how they make new colors.
This SCP much more feasible. Though they are a relatively low-priority entity in the broader scope of the Foundation, there are no known cases as of yet of any SCP-839 infections leading to death or serious chronic illness. Therefore, any instances that are captured by the Foundation are sent to storage site 839-1, where they are kept in a glass housing and regularly fed a diet of plant matter each day. Here, their reproductive activity can be closely monitored and controlled based on what research is needed. Those infected with SCP-839 instances can continue to live long and healthy lives, with only minor health complications arising. Therefore, the Foundation is comfortable allowing a reasonable number of cases to go unexamined in the world.
So wait a second, what they're saying here is that the boy actually didn't need the heart transplant because the gummy turned into his heart and it works pretty much the exact same as a normal heart would. So he's gonna be fine.
So, like I said, for next time you open up a bag of candied worms, maybe just give them a quick poke. You could be saving yourself a trip to the hospital and a lifetime dependence on insulin.
This is SCP-867. It's a tree, but it's not just any tree. This is the deadliest tree to ever exist. And today, we're gonna find out why.
The man and woman's hike through a gently rolling portion of the Rocky Mountains has just taken a turn for the dangerous. There's something there in the bush, the man tells her before stepping in front of her in a defensive pose.
Yeah, defend your woman.
Intently. There's a slight rustling.
What is it? Ew, dude, it looks like a tree butthole.
The man picks up a stick from the ground and holds it in front of him, ready to strike whatever fearsome beast is lurking in the
Okay, let's be real. If that's like a grizzly bear, my guy is about to get ripped apart into like a billion different pieces, and she's looking at him like she knows it. If she's smart, she should probably start running immediately.
Brush. The rustling stops, but the man doesn't move from his protective stance.
He is sweating bullets right now.
Gone? The woman asks.
I don't think
the man
so.
Isn't sure. He leans in towards the bush, searching for signs of what might be hiding inside when...
Oh!
The man screams
What
and falls
is it?
backwards as the creature emerges from the bush.
What?
The woman cries. It's a pika. She kneels down to get a closer look at the adorable little creature.
It was just
Pikas
a little
are native to this
rodent.
part of Colorado,
Oh my
and they resemble
gosh.
rabbits, but with small, rounded ears.
He looks
She
so
watches it
stupid
hop
now.
back off the trail before turning around to see
Wait.
her friend lying tangled in the branches of a tree.
Guys, check that out. Okay, that is no ordinary tree. That has to be SCP-867, which has the nickname the Blood Spruce. I have no idea what this thing does, but based on its name, it can't be anything good.
Tree. She can't help but laugh as she offers a hand to help pull him out of his predicament. Are you all right? She asks between fits of laughter. Yes, he's fine. The only thing hurt was his pride. He notices a small red spot on his arm and rubs it, but it doesn't seem to
Guys,
hurt at all.
I think he got
His attention is
infected.
diverted by the woman, though, who is marveling at the tree he was just stuck in. Free of the branches, he can appreciate now that the tree really is incredible. It looks like a huge
Whoa.
blue spruce, but the name is a complete misnomer.
Wow.
Because this tree is a vibrant red color. I've never seen anything like it, she says, and the man hasn't either. Neither knows what species it is, and strangely, there don't seem to be any others like it.
It's so much
Maybe
bigger
this is
than the
result
other
of an
trees.
odd genetic defect that turns blue spruces red.
Huh.
After admiring the tree for a moment, the pair decides that they've hiked far enough and that they should probably head back to the car. She jokes that he's likely exhausted from his run-in with a wild animal. He laughs, but clearly his ego
Oh,
has been
that's so
bruised.
funny. He's gonna die soon. He's definitely. See, guys, look. There's a
The
skull
man
and
stops his
bones.
car in
This
front of
guy's
the
going
woman's
to
house,
die.
and she thanks him for taking her on the hike. As she starts to get out, though, he stops her. He asks if she wants to go do something else, like dinner?
Wait, guys. Okay, so I like to make predictions during these SCP videos, and I have a prediction. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but we know that that was definitely the blood spruce SCP, and we know that he fell into the tree. He has a little bump on his arm, so he's definitely 100% infected. Now, I'm curious, because we saw like bones and we saw stuff like a skull around the other blood spruce, I'm wondering if maybe that's how this thing multiplies. Maybe it infects people or animals, and then it like basically starts spawning a tree out of the infected area. That's what I think right now, based on the information that we have, but make sure you guys comment down below what you think, and don't cheat. I know some of you guys might fast forward and then comment down below what actually happens. Don't do that. Just make some guesses down below right now in the comments. Do it.
The woman thanks him for his offer, but she has to be up early the next day for work. Just a quick drink then? An hour? 30 minutes? The woman tries her best to let her friend down easy, explaining that she likes him as a friend and as only that.
Ooh.
The man opens his mouth to respond, but
Rejected.
she stops him.
He doesn't have that
valued
Ohio
their
skibbity
friendship,
riz.
he wouldn't try to take advantage of it by using it as a backdoor to dating her. The man again looks like his pride has been shattered.
Wow.
He apologizes and admits that she is right.
Not only did this
It's
guy
just
get
that he
scared
has
by a
such a good time with her
squirrel,
that he
he
never
got
wants it to
infected
end.
by an
She gives him a
SCP,
sad
and he
smile as she
also
closes
got
the car door,
rejected by
and he
the love of
watches
his
her enter
life.
her house before he finally
This guy took
drives away.
3 major L's
It's
today.
2 weeks later when the man's phone rings.
Oh,
It's
2
his friend.
weeks later.
She explains that she's
Oh,
been thinking a lot
no.
about what he said in the car, and that she likes spending time with him too.
No!
Maybe there could be something more
I
to
mean,
their
that's great
relationship.
for him, but
The man can't believe
we
it.
both know
Is
that
really
this guy
happening?
is not
The woman
going to
is
make it.
serious. She'd like to take him up on that dinner offer, if he's still interested. Her treat.
Oh,
She wants to know
gosh.
what he's doing right. Ah!
Oh, there it is, boys.
Is he okay? What was that sound?
No.
Yes, I'm fine. It was nothing, the man tells her. It's just that now's not a good time. The woman doesn't understand. She thought he'd want to see her. She explains that she's leaving town for a work trip the next day and will be gone for a couple of weeks. She was hoping
What?
she could see him before she left, but the man cries
Oh,
out
dude,
again.
he is
He tells
infected
her that
right
he hasn't
now.
been feeling well all day.
No.
That he'll be all right. Okay, well,
He's not
get well
going to
soon.
be okay,
I'll
guys.
call you when I get back. They exchange goodbyes.
Oh, wait, look
and
at
the
his
man hangs up
skin.
the phone.
He's green?
The man
Oh!
looks terrible.
Oh my
His
gosh,
skin is
yeah.
pale, and his
Yes,
face
he
looks
does.
hollow and gaunt.
No.
He looks down at his arm. and sees
Ew.
that the veins themselves appear to be moving,
What?
pulsing, and vibrating.
Ah, that's
He screams
gross.
again in agony and falls
That
to
is
the floor,
disgusting.
clutching his arm. After writhing on the floor, he manages to summon the strength to reach for the phone. His hand searches on the table above
Ew,
him.
it looks like he's
Eventually,
wearing a
able to knock it onto
glove,
the
but
floor.
it's actually just his
He grabs
own
the phone
hand.
and starts to dial 911 before he can press 1
do it,
again.
do it.
Another wave
Ah,
of intense
no.
searing pain consumes him. Several weeks later, the woman
Oh,
is
she
standing outside the
came
man's
to his house.
Mail and newspapers are piled up on his front porch, as if no one has been in or out in some time.
So I guess this guy must not have like any family or friends. He's kind of a loner because nobody has checked up on him in multiple weeks other than this girl.
She knocks on the door, but there's no response. Hello? She calls out, but still nothing. She's
He
very
turned into a
worried.
tree,
She's
lady.
tried calling him several times, but he never answered or returned her messages. She tries the doorknob, and to her surprise, the front door swings open.
Okay, that's kind of
She steps
sus.
inside, and the room is dark. She's also immediately hit by a strong aroma of
Death.
She searches on the wall. And
Maybe I
finds
was
the
right.
switch. She turns on the lights and can't believe what she sees standing in front of her.
Oh, I
There
was
in the middle of the
right.
Is a massive spruce tree.
What?
Its upper branches pressing against the
That
ceiling.
is insane.
She reaches out and touches the tree's
Ugh.
vivid red branches. They feel sticky and wet. She pulls her
Oh,
hand away
ew,
and
ew.
looks down to see that it's covered in a red substance. That's when she notices something else.
The dead body.
Stuck in the
Oh
trunk
my god. Oh,
consumed
okay.
body of her friend.
So guys, I was right. I mean, this is a horrible time to pause, but I was right. So this thing infects the person, and then it turns their body into like fertilizer for a tree to spawn. Now guys, I'm pretty sure there's a type of mushroom that does this as well. It's very weird, but I remember watching a video after I played the Last of Us game, which is about like this mushroom virus that can like take over different organisms. And there actually is a mushroom out there called cordyceps that does something similar to this. But luckily it can only take over like small insects like ants, but it can actually like take over their brain, and then it starts spawning in the mushroom from their body. It is super weird, but it's like a real life SCP.
Unfortunately, this pair would never have the opportunity to see their feelings take root and grow, because unbeknownst to
Dr.
them,
Bob just
this
cooked with that
beautiful
one.
tree is actually a very deadly anomaly, known to the SCP Foundation as SCP-867, but which is perhaps better known by its very appropriate nickname,
The blood spruce.
SCP-867 is, or at least appears to be, quite similar to the species of tree Pisceae pungens.
I've never
better
seen that
known
tree
as the
before.
blue spruce.
That is such a cool looking
Of course,
tree.
There are a number of dramatic differences between 867 and its non-anomalous counterpart.
I mean, yeah, we can see, first off, the blood spruce is like double the size, and secondly, it's a different color.
Visually, and most obvious, is the coloration. While blue spruces, as the name implies, are typically a blue-green color, SCP-867 is a deep, vibrant red. There's another major visual difference too, with the blood spruce lacking any sort of seed cones that you would normally expect to
Oh,
find.
interesting.
With no pine cones to protect and spread seeds, you'd be right to ask how SCP-867 goes about reproducing.
We already know.
The answer to that question is what makes this beautiful tree such a dangerous anomaly. The secret to how SCP-867 reproduces is found in its leaves. While they look like pine needles, SCP-867's leaves are, in fact, needles.
Oh,
Their structure is very
what?
similar to that of hypodermic needles, and each one contains a single long, thin seed, which sits above a small gas pocket at the base.
Are you
When a living
serious?
creature touches the leaves, the tree immediately
Oh!
reacts. It triggers the gas pocket in the base of the
Wow.
leaf to release, which injects the seed into the skin of whatever touched it. The process is quite similar to that found in auto-injectors, like
Guys, this is insane. So just like a lot of SCP videos that we've watched in the past, there's like, I don't know, just like some part of it feels like it could be real. Like obviously we know about porcupines and they have like really sharp, basically needles as their defense mechanism. And we also know that pine trees and like other trees in existence like thorns, they can pretty much like prick you and then cause you to bleed. Now, luckily, nothing that we know of actually exists today that like shoots a seed inside of you, which would be super weird. But I don't know. There's something about these SCPs where they're like almost real enough. It just feels like it could be real. Like if somebody like let's say Albert Einstein sat me down and he was like, yeah, there's a tree that can shoot you with the seed and then, you know, a tree will grow out of your body. I would believe it. I would be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Darwin definitely studied that one, 400 years ago. That just sounds like evolution to me. But luckily, it's just an SCP, so we're safe for now, I think.
those used to quickly treat allergic reactions. The seed itself is extremely small and is coated in a liquid that has both anesthetic and coagulant properties.
So you can't feel
which makes
it.
the process virtually undetectable. Once implanted in the skin, these seeds can lay dormant for up to 2 weeks before they begin the germination process, and the true horror of SCP-867 is revealed. Once the seeds begin to sprout and grow, they will not seek to penetrate through the skin like a plant rising out of the soil. Instead, the strange plant will grow within its host's body, spreading throughout the circulatory system. This process is extremely painful for the host.
I bet.
The plant's tendrils wind through their veins and
my
capillary
gosh.
system, stretching and pressing against them.
It
as the
literally
blood stream
takes
grows
over
within
the
them.
person's entire
Eventually,
organ
the ever-increasing
system.
size of the plant's tendrils becomes too much, and the veins will begin to rupture. This leads to severe
I don't
internal
like it.
bleeding, and soon after,
What?
the death of the host.
Okay,
The
okay.
entire process is quite quick, with it only taking 24 hours from when the seeds first sprout to the host dying. But that single day will feel like an eternity to the afflicted individual as they feel the plant rapidly growing inside of their body.
Okay, so it did only
But even
take
though the
one
host has
day.
expired, this parasitoid tree is far from finished with them, or at least their body. Soon after death, a new
Oh
instance of the
my
blood spruce will
pimple.
burst from the body. The red tree is quite small at first, but it will continue to quickly grow, just as it did within its host's body, and can reach maturity in just 30 days.
What?
And unlike most other plants,
What?
SCP-867 is able to grow regardless of light or soil conditions.
How?
Because it does not produce food via photosynthesis. No, this plant is carnivorous. As it grows, the 867 will slowly consume its host's body until nothing remains except the blood red tree.
So how does it eat
Instances
after
of
it runs out of the
SCP-867
person?
were first identified in Colorado during the 1990s, following reports of numerous disappearances of hikers and park rangers. The SCP Foundation dispatched a team to the area to investigate, and they soon discovered numerous instances of the previously unidentified tree.
So that basically means that 3 people were out there and then they all like basically died, and then the trees sprouted out of nowhere.
Several still young specimens were acquired, though unfortunately, this led to the deaths of several agents.
How?
We're not yet aware of just how dangerous the red spruces could be.
How did you not
Once their
know?
threat level was properly assessed, several specimens were flagged for containment and research purposes, while all of the other identified
Yes,
instances still in
that's
the wild
what you should
were
do to this
destroyed.
SCP.
The remaining
Burn it with a
instances of
flamethrower.
SCP-867 were classified as Euclid and are now securely kept at a Foundation biocontainment site. Direct human contact with the plants is normally not allowed, and remote rovers are used for the majority of tests and upkeep.
that's a big
If
brain
for
play
any
right
reason
there.
It is necessary for a human to enter 867's containment cell. They are to wear full hazmat suits with a Kevlar underlayer, and upon exiting the cell, must undergo a full herbicidal treatment and inspection. Should any possible puncture marks be discovered, they will be forced to quarantine for no less than 15 days. Ah, nature. It's so beautiful.
Wait a second, why would they quarantine for 15 days when they just said earlier in the video that it only takes 24 hours for this thing to kill the person? That was kind of weird.
Full and calming, yet seems determined to try and kill us in any number of ways. If you're out hiking or camping in the woods, try to remember this extremely famous adage which I may or may not have just made up. It goes, leaves of 3, let them be. Needles of red, well, you're probably already dead.
Dr.
Now
Bob,
go and watch
yo!
another episode.
How could a grandmom be
It's fair.
scary? There's no
The young
way!
woman laughs as her date tries to catch his
Is that the
breath.
grandmom?
The dancing rhythm game was much harder than he anticipated, and he can't help but also laugh at his abysmal score.
It's
He takes her hand, and
contagious.
the two continue walking through the arcade. It's not crowded at all tonight, and the two have their choice of games as they bounce between the many
That's the
pinball
best, when an
tables, driving
arcade is
games,
just
and light
empty
gun
and it
shooters.
feels like it's
As
all
they
to
finish up
yourself.
a game of air hockey, her date notices something.
What is
It's a
it?
door in the back of the arcade that's slightly ajar.
Oh,
a latch and a lock that
secret
should be keeping
arcade
it closed,
games.
hanging open.
Yes.
I wonder what's in there.
Comment
He
down below
asks.
if you would go into
Broken
a secret
games,
room
maybe
in an
ones that let you
arcade.
play without putting in a token, or keep spitting out tickets even when you lose. Come on. The two slip through the cracked door and find themselves in a dark room that doesn't look like anyone has been inside in a
Whoa,
while.
spoopy.
There's cobwebs and dust everywhere, but her date was right. It really
Yes.
is filled with broken games.
Secret arcade
He motions for her to
machines.
follow as he checks out an old pinball machine. He presses the buttons, but it remains dark. He gives it a hard slap and nothing happens.
I'm kind of
How
curious,
disappointing.
where does the
They really are just
grandmom come
busted
into
old
play?
machines. The two turn to leave. They might get kicked out if anyone finds them messing around in here.
Look in the background.
They're back at the door when they both stop and look at each other.
Is that a grandmom?
Hear something behind them.
What was that?
The
Ah,
young woman
okay.
shrieks with fear at the sight of the old woman staring
Oh
at her.
my gosh.
This time, it's her date's turn to laugh at her. It's just an old fortune teller.
Huh?
Nothing to be scared of.
Oh.
They must have accidentally turned it on.
Okay, guys, so this SCP is not a literal grandmom. It is kind of like a fortune teller, it looks like. It reminds me a lot of, what's his name? Like Zoltar or like the Akinator, where you can go up, put in, like $2 these days, and then it'll give you a random fortune that literally, I don't know, it has like nothing to do with you. But I have a weird feeling that this grandmom is going to actually be able to tell them their future. And if I had to guess, will probably make it not what they want to hear. I have a weird feeling these fortunes are going to be deadly.
She didn't notice it before, but the machine which has the words Grandmother Predictions written across the top has come to life, and the inside is now lit up to reveal the animatronic head and torso of an old woman. The old woman isn't moving, but her glassy, dead eyes seem like they are staring right at the young woman. The two look at each other, unsure of what to do, when, without warning, the old woman comes to life.
Wait,
With the
she
clicking
just
and
turned
whirring of
on?
gears, The old woman appears to breathe in
What?
deeply, opening and closing her mouth as she leans slightly forward and back inside her glass container. The young woman steps towards the fortune teller as the old
Why?
woman inside keeps
No.
breathing in and out.
You should be
But
walking
then suddenly,
backwards.
the old woman stops. There's another loud click as a card appears out of a small slot on the front of the machine.
That must
She
be
looks down
the
at the
first
card, then
fortune.
looks back up to see that the old woman is staring at her once again.
She's
as
like,
if the
read
robotic
it
figure
now.
can really, truly see her.
That is
The
so
young woman
weird.
slowly reaches towards the card.
I'm getting
as
the
old woman's gaze
EBGBs.
stays locked on her. Her fingers touch the card, and at the exact moment she pulls it free, the fortune teller's lights go out, and the old woman
What?
slumps over. What was that?
So she
The dad
knows
asks.
if somebody
She didn't
takes
even
the
notice
fortune.
that he is standing next to her now. He starts to search around the machine, looking for something that may have triggered it, as the young woman looks down at the card she pulled from the slot. Her face changes as she reads it. As
What
she
is
goes
it?
From a little freaked out.
What
to
does it
completely terrified.
say?
Hey, look at this, her date says as
What
she quickly
is
slips
it?
the card into her pocket. Her date reaches behind the back of the machine and pulls out a short piece of cord, one end attached to the fortune
It was
teller,
never
the
plugged
other
in to
frayed as if it
begin
had been
with.
Cut. It's not even plugged in. Let's get out of here, she tells him.
What the
She doesn't need
flip?
to ask him twice, and the two leave the room, emerging back into the lights and sounds of the arcade. Later that night, the two are at the door to the young
Wait,
woman's
she
apartment.
didn't read
He
it to
asks if
him
she's
right
sure
there?
She's okay. She's not still scared about that broken machine, is she?
What?
It's probably just battery operated and they switched it on somehow. The
I
young
don't
woman
know
agrees
about
must
that,
be
dude.
it, and that she's fine, just tired. She gives him a kiss on the cheek and bids him goodnight before going into her apartment and closing the door.
Guys, I wonder if on the card it said something not about her, but about her date that night, which is why she's not telling him. Like maybe it said, oh, don't tell your date or else he will get eaten by a shark in a tornado or something weird like that. I don't know. But there's definitely some reason why she's not telling him.
Inside, the young woman leans against the door.
What does it say?
Takes something out of her pocket and stares at it. It's the fortune that was dispensed from
Tell
the
me
machine.
what it says,
It
dude. I
reads,
need to know.
You look like you've made some mistakes. Some things are unforgivable, aren't they?
Oh, it's a lot worse than I
Wait,
thought.
she thinks to herself. It's just a coincidence.
So
The young woman walks
This
further
girl
into her
did
apartment
something
and
really
picks up a
bad.
framed photo. It's a picture of her several years younger, with another girl who looks just like her.
oh
sister.
no.
She thinks back
Oh
to that night,
no,
the night that
dude.
she'll never forget, no matter how hard she tries. The night she lost her, and lost part of herself too.
That's so sad.
She sets the picture back down on the table before looking at the fortune she's still holding in her other hand. She crumples the paper in her fist and drops it in the trash before heading to bed.
I would be so creeped out because like that's one of those things where if you read that, you wouldn't be like that creeped out. You would be like, ooh, that's kind of weird. But I guess like it could apply to a lot of different situations. But specifically for her, she kind of thinks that the SCP, the grandmother knows, fortune teller, knows about this thing where she got into a car crash and her sister passed away. And it was kind of her fault. And the grandmother, since we know that she's an SCP, I'm guessing grandmother knows is an SCP that can like read people's minds. It basically can know everything about you, and then it will give you fortunes based on what it wants you to know or like what it wants you to think that it knows. And then I bet you she'll probably go back at some point and every single fortune is going to get a little bit more specific, a little bit creepier until something really bad happens. And I need to find out what it is.
It's late at night, and the young woman is tossing and turning with bad dreams when she suddenly pops up awake. Did she hear a sound? She looks around her dim room.
Oh, please tell
but
me it's
nothing
not the
looks amiss.
Grammy.
There
Nah,
is
nah,
again
nah, nah.
a
This
noise.
better not be the
Is it
grandmom.
Coming from
Dude.
the closet?
Oh, maybe it's her
She gets
sister?
up out of bed and walks towards the closet, one slow step after another. She reaches towards the closet door, but the moment her fingers touch the knob, the door bursts.
Oh!
She screams and falls backwards as multiple arms
What?
reach out of the darkness in the closet
What?
towards her.
What
She
is this?
screams and kicks at the
What
arms
is
as they
this?
grab at her, trying
What?
to pull her inside. She fights with all her might.
It's
as
just
she
a
tries
nightmare,
to crawl
right?
away from the arms.
There's no
She
way this is
manages to
real.
escape their grasp and stands up.
No
She
way.
runs out of the room and towards the front door as the arms follow, reaching out of the closet.
Oh,
growing longer and longer. The
what
sickening
is
sound of
happening?
bones twisting and snapping as they form new joints to bend around corners. Her hands reach out for the knob and
Go.
she grabs it. Just
Get-
as the arms grab onto her.
It got her.
She's jerked backwards and falls to the floor.
It
as the
got her.
arms
She's
drag her down
gone.
the hallway. She tries to resist, her fingernails digging into the floorboards as the arms pull her back into the bedroom. Hello?
Okay, I
You
did
awake?
not see
The
that
woman knocks
happening
loudly on the
at
front
all.
door. Come on, we have reservations. You have to get up. The
Is
woman
that her
knocks
mom?
Again, but still no response.
No.
She checks her watch and with a sigh, takes out a set of keys.
Did her
She finds
mom
the one she's
lose
looking for
both
and
of her
unlocks the
daughters
door.
now?
Everyone is waiting for us, and I'm gonna tell
That
them
would
we're
be
late
so
because of-"
sad.
The woman gasps as she opens the door. She can't believe what she's seeing. The apartment is a mess. It looks like a bomb went off. She looks around, but there's no sign of her daughter. Then she notices the bloody claw marks leading down the hallway towards the bedroom.
No.
She runs down the hall, stops in the doorway to the bedroom, and screams.
Oh!
If you've ever
Whoa!
been to an arcade, a
What?
midway, or a boardwalk, then you may have encountered a fortune-telling machine.
I mean, I have. Comment down below if you guys have.
Fun as you receive a random card that purports to tell you your future or
I will
reveal a
never
secret
be
truth
using
about
one
yourself.
ever again.
There's nothing to it, obviously. It's just a random card you're getting after all. But the SCP Foundation has a fortune-telling machine in its possession that's both very real and very dangerous. SCP-517, as it is known to the Foundation, is a 2-meter-tall glass and wooden fortune-telling machine that contains
Okay.
a mechanical animatronic facsimile of an elderly woman wearing
Yeah,
a
it
white
seems
blouse and a blue
Pretty
shawl.
normal. You would find this at like
Top of the
any
machine is a panel
carnival.
with the words "Grandmother Predictions" written on it. Once per hour, the machine will power on if an individual enters what could be considered the elderly woman's field of vision. She will turn to directly face the person, seeming to stare right at them, before dispensing a fortune card from a slot on the front of the machine, after which it will appear to shut down and cease to function. It is unknown just how the machine becomes active, seeing as the only cord coming out of the back of the machine appears to have been severed.
I mean, apparently for this
The
guy, he said
fortunes
batteries,
dispensed
so
when
maybe.
the machine comes to life are less a prediction and more of a veiled threat. And examples of ones received have included, "Your mother raised you better than that. I'm sorry, but fair is fair." Some people don't know how to be kind. You'll know soon enough, won't you? And people who do terrible things deserve terrible things. You've brought this upon yourself, my dear.
Okay, so a lot of these are basically kind of hinting at the fact that the person did something really bad and something unforgivable, so that like they deserve to be punished by the grandmom inside of this fortune-telling machine. So I wonder what would happen if like a really good person, or like what if like a kid even goes up to this and then gets a fortune. I feel like, I don't know, there's probably going to be like a flip side of this where if it's a good person going up to the fortune teller or somebody that hasn't done anything that bad in their life, maybe they'll get rewarded. Maybe, I don't know, like chocolate chip cookies will come out or something that, a grandmom would give you. Maybe like a gift card for Amazon, something good to reward you for being a good person.
Here. Following an activation of SCP-517, starting at 1:43 a.m. local time, the same events will always occur. The individual that was targeted by the machine will find themselves attacked by a number of entities which have been designated as SCP-517-01.
Okay, so there are always a bunch
These
of
entities
hands.
are long, multi-jointed arms that emanate from a location nearby the individual. The exact number that appears
Imagine
will
those
vary,
coming out of a
but there
toilet.
usually seems to be between 10 and 36.
36!
The arms will appear from a single location
Bruh.
that's often a low, cramped, and dark space like a closet, basement, or under a bed. The arms will reach out from this area and try to grab the individual before dragging them back to the location where they manifested.
I would
They
pee
appear
my
to be able to
pants.
stretch indefinitely, growing as long as they need in order to continue pursuing the
Indefinitely?
individual.
So
And
they
the many
could
joints
basically
allow
go
them to bend
forever.
around corners or any other obstacles. Should the individual manage to fight the arms off or escape,
What if I had, like,
new
a
arms
sword?
will
What if I
materialize
just
nearby
bang,
the
bang,
victim
bang?
to aid in the capture.
Oh, he just said new
Once the
arms would
have
spawn.
subdued the targeted person and gotten them back to the area where they appeared, they will begin savagely assaulting them, beating and clawing at them until nothing remains of the
What?
victim but a bloody pile of flesh and
That
bones.
is
To date,
horrible.
The Foundation is not aware of any targeted individuals surviving
you
an attack
serious?
by SCP-517-01 entities. In the event that the fortune-telling machine was activated multiple times on the same day, multiple instances of arms appearing
Are you
will occur
serious?
at different locations at the same time, with each group hunting their own individual target.
What?
Efforts have been made to figure out exactly where the arms manifest from.
This would make for
And
a
during
really good
testing,
horror
cameras
movie.
were set up around the targeted individual in order to try and locate a place of origin. Unfortunately, the arms somehow seemed aware that they were being watched, and the arms always emanated from around a corner or other place that was out of the field of view of the cameras.
Interesting.
Tests on SCP-517 did reveal one piece of evidence, though, as fragments of DNA were recovered from the areas where SCP-517-01 instances appeared.
Oh.
DNA that turned out to be human in origin. The
So-
origins of the DNA
what?
and the identity of the owner have yet to be
So
determined.
the arms are human
Research and
arms,
containment of SCP-517
which is super
has
weird.
proven to be quite difficult, as evidenced by an event designated Incident 517-1997-M. As Foundation Agent Dr. Mail supervised the transport of SCP-517 to a new containment storage locker, the fortune teller suddenly activated, and it was suspected that Dr. Mail had become a target. Security.
Also, wait a second, guys. I'm kind of curious. What happens if you don't take the fortune? Like, what if you are just, you see it come on, you see the fortune come out, and then you just don't pick it up? Will it still activate?
Personnel were alerted, and a defensive strategy was devised to protect her from instances of SCP-517-01 that were expected to manifest that night at 1:43 a.m. Dr. Mail was taken to
this
a
is pretty
helicopter on
cool.
the roof of a Foundation cafeteria and given the protection of multiple security personnel as they waited for the arms to manifest. Right on cue, the arms appeared in a storage area inside the cafeteria.
Okay, so she didn't take the fortune that we know of anyway. So even if you don't take it, it seems like as soon as Grandmom Nose turns on and looks at you, you are now a target and you will be attacked at 1:43 in the morning.
Began stretching their way towards the roof. Security teams inside the cafeteria opened fire on the arms, which took damage just like normal human arms, though they would quickly be replaced by more. More instances of SCP-517-01 began appearing, coming out from under parked vehicles and other storage areas, as the number of arms coming out of the original manifestation site continued to increase until there were over 100. The arms
Okay,
did not
they
seem to
just
want to
kept
fight back against the
spawning.
security teams, though. They seemed singular in their focus, to get to the roof where Dr. Mail was waiting.
Wow.
As the ever-increasing amount of limbs overwhelmed the security teams and breached the roof, the order was given for the helicopter to take off. The helicopter rose into the air.
Oh, they're gonna grab
the
it.
arms began manifesting from somewhere underneath the helicopter itself.
What?
The arms broke through the windows.
Oh
and pulled
my
Dr.
God,
Mail
it got
out,
her.
passing her down to the waiting arms on the roof that then carried her through the
serious?
cafeteria's ventilation system. A security personnel in the cafeteria attempted to sever the limbs with a knife and rescue Dr. Mail, but the arms are no longer ignoring their attackers and grabbed him as
they
well,
just started
dragging
fighting.
him down towards
Oh,
the storage
wow.
locker, along with the doctor. In the end,
So guys, this SCP is kind of like Shy Guy in a way. If you look at Shy Guy, you know for a fact that Shy Guy will find you and he will kill you no matter where you are. You could be at the bottom of the ocean, you could be in outer space, and Shy Guy will still find a way to get you. And it seems like this SCP is kind of the same way. If Grammy Nose turns on and looks at you and makes eye contact with you, you know for certain that there's nothing you could do to escape.
4 members of the security team, along with Dr. Mail, were pulled into the storage area by the arms. Their remains were collected the next morning, and the Foundation made their best efforts to separate and identify what was left for individual funerary services. SCP-517, which has been classified as safe, is kept in a dedicated containment cell at all times, facing away from the doorway, with an
Interesting.
opaque black sheet bound around it.
I'm surprised that it was classified as safe and not Euclid because it does seem pretty dangerous, but I guess it is very easily contained and secured because you could just cover it and then it seems like, nobody's at risk anymore of getting a fortune. So I guess that's why they probably made it into a safe class.
Following the events of Incident 517-1997-M, all testing has been halted without the express written permission of the site director. Peering into our future can be a fun activity, even when we know it's all just a bit of make-believe. When you pull your fortune from a booth containing an elderly automaton, though, you might just find that this time, Grammy knows your fate for real.
Start beating it up
Now go
immediately.
watch it.
Let's see. Okay, what? I thought this was
stalked by
about
cougars in the
fart
dead of
berries,
night,
not
only to
bears
be
and pumas.
asleep. Wandering off the path and getting lost for days, the elements slowly withering you away to nothingness. There are plenty of ways you can die in the wilderness.
Yeah,
Few would expect death
like
to come as
fart
a result
berries.
of a simple
Oh
bodily
no,
function.
don't
with a
fart.
Decidedly anomalous twist.
The bear will find you.
Springtime in the Sierra Nevada
I can't wait
is
to see what
undeniably
happens.
beautiful. The unpredictable storms of winter are a thing of the past, but the oppressive heat of summer hasn't yet crept in. The highest peaks of the mountains are still spotted with snow, but in the foothills, the wildflowers sprout from the earth, blooming in a
That's so
tapestry of
nice.
yellow,
I love
pink,
spring.
purple,
Everything
and
just
orange.
comes to life in
Crystal
spring.
clear waterfalls roar down the rocky mountainsides, water set free from its slumber by the melting ice as the world wakes up from a long hibernation. The summer vacation crowds haven't yet flooded the hiking trails and ski slopes,
but a few groups of early adventurers can be spotted hiking through the mountains, taking in the sights and breathing in the fresh, fragrant air.
Okay, guys, so as you know, I like to make predictions in these SCP videos, and if I had to guess, we're gonna come across a group of some of these people that are coming out in the spring. They're going around, they're going on some nice hikes, and every once in a while, you know, when you're hiking, you come across a berry bush. And I mean, I'm guilty of this. I have found like a you know, a little blueberry bush, and I'm like, oh, that looks delicious. Let me try to eat it, which I do not recommend because they could be poisonous. But I have a feeling that some of these guys or girls are going to come across these berries and they're going to have a little snack. And little do they know, these are the SCP fart berries. And then things are going to go extremely wrong from there.
Among these springtime visitors are a pair of young men, one with blonde hair and one with dark hair.
Okay.
Each wearing a small backpack
What's
and
up,
carrying
boys?
a canteen of water, not a scuff to be seen on their brand new hiking boots.
So they only
These
have
two young
water.
men are
They don't
on
have
their
any
senior
food.
spring break from college, gleefully taking the hiking trip they have been talking about since they were
Whoa.
paired up as roommates their
That
freshman
is a
year.
big hiking trip.
Neither of these young men is especially experienced in hiking, but they have both spent dozens of hours in the library reading up on wilderness survival, on the best ways to pitch a tent and start a fire with nothing more than
Okay,
sticks
so they're
and
like
two
kind of
rocks.
prepared.
The lighter-haired of the two especially prides himself on his knowledge of foraging for edible wild plants.
Oh.
A skill he is excited to put to the test on this trip.
So he's going
His
to find the
dark-haired
berries.
companion is a bit more suspicious of wild plants, frightened by the stories of foraging gone wrong and unfortunate explorers confusing a delicious mushroom for one that stops the heart in minutes.
Yep, you
He has
literally
filled his bag
never
with
have any
provisions
idea,
with
so you gotta
granola
be
and
extra
jerky,
careful.
dried fruits, and cans of beans that he hopes his friend will share with him, rather than risking his safety by gambling on a wild root or berry. Still, his concerns about foraging are soon forgotten as the two proceed further along the trail, passing sparkling waterfalls, bighorn sheep grazing on wild plants, and a bird that just might be a bald eagle soaring by overhead.
Oh my gosh, dude,
The
I
two
would
are
love to be
lost
out
in
there.
The majesty of nature.
It looks
So lost,
amazing.
in fact, that they forget to eat until the sun is dipping over the horizon.
Okay,
The world
well,
is growing dark around them.
Yeah, you should probably
Out
eat some
here
of the
in mountains,
granola
with
that
no
you
light
brought, or
pollution to
like the
speak
chocolate
of,
bars.
Dark is dark. Even with the help of the lanterns they brought, the two men can scarcely see well enough to put up their tents and build a small fire.
Okay, that
Still,
was a
they
mistake.
remember all of their reading.
So if you guys are ever out camping, pro tip, I'm surprised they didn't do this because they read up on how to camp. You're supposed to pitch your tent before it turns pitch black because it's so much more difficult to do it when you can't see anything.
and managed to set up a modest camp for the night.
Oh, that's actually pretty
The dark-haired
impressive.
man pulls a bag of beans from his backpack and begins to heat them over the flame. He offers some to his companion, but he refuses. The
Why?
blonde man has found a
Oh
shrub that he
my
recognizes,
God.
weighed down with ripe fruit. This shrub, he explains to his friend, is a species of manzanita, an evergreen shrub that produces berries similar in flavor to little apples. The dark-haired man is dubious. Aren't manzanita berries typically red in color? These appear to
Interesting.
be a shade of brown. Wait. The young man reaches out and stops his friend just before he can pop the berries into his mouth. At least let me look them up on my phone. That won't work out here, his
Wait,
friend
what?
tells him. The government blocks access to the web out here. They don't want you on the internet. It's a big conspiracy. Everyone knows
Okay,
about it.
something's up with
Page
this guy.
unavailable. His friend is right. But wait, he has the ultimate tool to defeat this intrusion on his lunch.
Wait, is it like a
because he
VPN?
has Surfshark
Wait
VPN.
a second, I've never seen a sponsor on a Dr. Bob video. What the heck? Do they know that they're sponsoring an SCP video about fart berries? That is hysterical.
The wannabe forager insists that he has correctly identified the plant and that these berries will be his dinner.
I don't
The
know. Why
dark-haired
would you
man
not just
shrugs
eat the
and
food
treats
that your
himself
friend
to a
brought?
meal of beans and dried apples, while his friend munches on handfuls of the brown berries. He has no complaints about the taste and does not immediately drop dead upon eating them, so perhaps he was right. These
Oh,
are manzanitas
no.
after all. As soon as the thought crosses the dark-haired man's mind, he sees his friend double over,
Oh my
clutching at his
gosh,
stomach in
yo, that was so
discomfort.
fast.
Afraid for his friend's safety, he rushes to his side, only to be met with a long, loud fart. The two share a laugh, the tension broken by the sudden smelly outburst, but the humor soon fades as the blonde man farts again.
He's still
and
going?
again and again.
Okay, he definitely pooped
All
his
through the
pants.
night, he continues to emit
All-
loud,
all through the
excruciatingly smelly
night?
farts. The
That's
smell
impressive,
permeates the campsite,
honestly.
seeping into the dark-haired man's tent, no matter how he tries to cover his nose with his sleeping bag.
Oh, that
He
is
doesn't
so
get a wink of
gross.
sleep, spending the night wide awake, staring at the ceiling of
Dude,
his
I
tent,
can't.
silently
There's just
wishing for the relentless
a
stream of
fart
gas to
sound
stop.
constantly in my ears.
But it doesn't. It just carries on until the dark-haired man can scarcely remember a time when he wasn't listening to the maddening sound.
This is hysterical.
Again, the endless farts. He clenches his fists
That's
until
so
the knuckles
good.
turn white, clenches his jaw.
I would
and
totally
grinds his
eat
teeth.
these.
It's enough to drive a man
This is a
insane.
great thing
The
to
next
do to
morning,
prank
it
your
is still
friends.
happening. The blonde man expresses embarrassment, but does not apologize for ignoring his friend's warnings about the berries.
So he
tries to
slept
laugh
through
it
the
off,
night
but the
while
dark-haired man
farting.
does not join him in his laughter.
He was literally farting in his sleep for like 10 hours. That is awesome.
If he had only listened, they wouldn't be in this situation. They wouldn't be about to continue their hike with this rancid, gaseous albatross around their necks. As they pack up camp, the dark-haired man glances down at the tent pole in his hand. One good swing, and he could put a stop to the madness.
Oh my gosh, he's
No,
going to
that's
kill
ridiculous.
his friend
He shakes
just
his
for
head, clearing the
farting?
impulse from his mind. The gastrointestinal distress will pass soon, and they will be able to continue the trip like
Maybe
they
that's
planned.
part of it,
But
guys.
It doesn't pass. Nothing.
Maybe the SCP doesn't affect the person other than making them fart. Maybe it affects everybody around them by A, keeping them awake, and B, what if like the fart gas is different than normal farts? What if it's like a special chemical that makes you extremely angry and disgruntled and like super annoyed so that you kill the person that ate the berries? I could see that happening.
Nothing passes, but the gas itself. The blonde man asks if they can stop for water.
Did he
before
poop
they've even
yet?
Been hiking for an hour.
You should try to
He
poop.
isn't feeling very well, he explains. He woke up dizzy and nauseated, disoriented from lying there all night, breathing in the fumes. The dark-haired man wants to say something, to retort that he too was suffering all night, but he doesn't. He just lets his friend stop to drink some water, and they proceed with the hike. Gone is the magic of the previous day, the time before the cursed berries. The men can no longer smell the wildflowers, the crisp mountain air.
They can only
There are no wild
smell
animals to be
fart
found,
gas.
Not a single ground squirrel or little bird. Up ahead on the trail, the dark-haired man catches the barest glimpse of a tail vanishing into the brush
Oh.
as a mountain lion runs the other way.
Okay, that's a little
Is
scary.
it fleeing from them? From the stench? He wouldn't blame the beast if it was. They have 5 more days of this planned, and he can feel his resolve beginning to fade. Maybe he can turn back, ask to cut the trip short now, but why should he have to
So
suffer
funny.
just because his friend made a mistake identifying a wild berry? It isn't fair. If he could just get a moment to think without the incessant farting, if he could just have 1 second
Oh my
of
gosh,
peace,
he's
maybe
actually
he could
getting
come up with a
so
solution.
mad.
But no respite comes. If anything, it only seems to get worse. The smell burns his nostrils. The sound rings in his ears.
Oh my gosh.
The blonde man tries to speak over it, to clear the air with pleasant conversation, but the dark-haired man brushes him off with grunts and shrugs. His eyes sting and water. He chokes on the stench. He knows
Wow,
in
it
his
really
heart
is getting
he can't
worse.
take much more of this. When the men make camp for the night again, the dark-haired man's thoughts turn dark. He could just leave in the dead of night while his friend is sleeping, rush off into the wilderness and abandon his companion there, freeing himself from the farts. He tries
Freeing
to justify it to
himself from the
They both have the
farts.
survival skills to make it. He'll be fine. His thoughts of leaving his friend alone in the woods are interrupted by the
What?
sound of chewing. Is there any animal nearby?
Wait a
No,
second.
surely no animal would approach, given the smell. He
Okay,
takes a look in the blonde man's
I'm a little
tent
bit
and
nervous.
finds his friend eating another handful of those same brown berries.
No.
The dark-haired man flies into a rage,
What?
unable to contain his fury. How could he do this? How could he eat more of them after what happened the first time?
Okay, either this guy loves these berries or the berries make you want to eat more of them, which is why he's doing it. Or he really likes farting. I guess that's the third option.
Doesn't he understand what this is doing to him, what it's doing to the both of them?
He
How
got
can be
caught
so
red-handed.
selfish?
That's
The
so
blonde
funny.
man insists that it's fine, that the farting can't possibly be related to the berries.
Well,
because
yeah,
manzanitas don't cause
it
that
definitely
sort of
is.
thing. At this, something in the dark-haired man snaps. He can't take it anymore.
Oh my God, he's gonna
He turns
kill
away
him.
from the tent, throwing up his hands and telling the blonde man to find his own way back. They'll split up from here. The blonde man emerges from his tent, begging his friend not
Look
to
at the
cast him out.
fumes.
He's certain the farting will stop any day now. At
Any
this,
day?
It seems to grow louder and more potent. The dark-haired
He's starting
man
to
spots a
charge
large
up his
rock by the
farts.
campfire,
Oh my
small
God,
enough to
no.
hold in his hand, hefty enough to do some real damage.
Wait, there's no way he's about to
He
kill
picks
his
it up
friend
and
over some
turns to meet his
farts.
friend. Without thinking, he swings the rock at the blonde man's head.
What?
For the first time in days, the sound of farts goes silent. The air
He
smells
killed
sweet,
him
like
over
flowers, leaves,
farts.
and campfire smoke. He did what he had to do.
I don't know about that
Dark-haired
one.
man lets out a sigh of relief, the rock falling from his hand. He glances at the rock on
Wow.
the ground, at the blood dripping down its surface, and realizes the full weight
Well, yeah,
of what he
you
has
just
done.
killed a man for
He packs up the
farting.
campsite as quickly as he can, douses the fire, and dumps the body over the edge
Oh my
of
God.
a nearby cliff.
Is it gonna fart on the way
The
down?
next few days, he hikes back the way he and his friend came, noticing, in spite of his gnawing guilt, that the walk really is so much better without those damned farts. On the way,
He looks
passes
so
that
much
bush,
happier.
That horrible bush, weighed down by the fruit that destroyed his spring break
Oh no,
trip,
he's gonna
that
do it.
destroyed his friend's life.
He's gonna do
He
it.
opens his backpack, tearing a page from one of his books and grabbing a pen. He scribbles a warning: no matter what,
Oh my gosh.
do not eat these berries, and affixes it to the bush.
I would take a few
You can
back
only
with
hope
me.
that the
You
next
know,
person
it
to
could be a
stumble on
cool
this shrub
prank.
will see the note and heed its warning. If they don't, they might meet a similar fate. Days later, the park rangers discover the blonde man's body
okay.
and declare the death an accident.
We're back to the
caused
start
when
of
man
the
fell over
video.
The side of the cliff. Some of them suspect foul play, but are unable to find any evidence. All they can find is a strange note on an unidentified shrub and the faintest smell of something foul, like rotten eggs. The two doomed hikers had no way of knowing this, but the fruit they foraged was not from the Manzanita family. It was from a plant known as SCP-4032.
Fart berries.
SCP-4032 is a wide, deciduous shrub characterized by a rounded crown and wider base. It produces a distinct, small, round brown fruit that has been designated SCP-4032-1.
I mean, guys, this has
Whenever
to be
any
the
animal or
weirdest
human
SCP we've
consumes
ever
an
seen.
instance of SCP-4032-1, this meal will result in intense gastrointestinal distress. I will try to describe this as delicately as I possibly can, but as I have learned over the years in my line of work, the truth is rarely delicate or polite.
Tell me more about the
1 hour following the
dingleberries.
consumption of an SCP-4032-1 instance, the person or animal will begin to emit an excessive amount of flatulence, consisting of elevated hydrogen sulfide levels and a small but detectable amount of methane gas.
Okay,
Perhaps
that
you are
seems like a
familiar
normal
with an old
fart.
rhyming song about the wonders of beans, the magical fruit. These berries
Yes.
function quite similarly. The more one eats, the more one does, in fact, for want of a better word, toot. However, unlike the second part of the bean-based rhyme,
Toot berries.
these fruits do not cause their unfortunate consumers to feel better, nor should they be eaten at every or any meal. The Foundation first
Interesting,
discovered
okay.
SCP-4032 on April 2nd, 2018, after a man named Anthony Green happened upon the plant in the foothills of Northern California. Hungry enough to forget his better judgment, Anthony ate some of the fruit and became immediately concerned
Oh,
for
no.
his physical well-being.
The more you eat, the more you toot.
SCP-4032's effects began to take hold. Fearing he had unknowingly consumed a poisonous plant, he made a distress call to the local search and rescue team. This call was intercepted by Foundation operatives, who swiftly arrived at the scene to bring both Anthony and the
Wait,
plant itself
why?
into custody.
Why would
The
they?
affected individual will continue.
Why would they go after this guy, the SCP Foundation, literally because he called somebody saying, "Hey, I think I got like poisoned by these berries that are making me fart." I guess maybe they had prior knowledge of this SCP, but yeah. I can't even imagine how somebody thought of this and was like, hey, yeah, this is an SCP after all. Yeah, they're just berries that make you pass gas constantly.
Continue to produce this.
I wonder if it ever goes
flatulence until they
away.
Have expired. Both starvation and dehydration have no impact on the flatulence, and no identifiable source of the gaseous output has been detected via endoscopy.
Ew, where
If
does
an
that
affected
go?
individual finds themselves in an area without adequate ventilation, they will gradually begin to experience symptoms brought on by hydrogen sulfide poisoning, including
Oh
but
my
not
gosh.
limited to conjunctivitis.
You can
respiratory
literally kill
irritation and
yourself
coughing,
with
loss
your
of
own
smell,
farts.
and eventually pulmonary edema.
They
and
are
death.
deadly fart
Shortly
berries.
following SCP-4032's discovery, Dr. Logari began conducting a thorough observation of Anthony Green, referred to as D-14478 for the purposes of official documentation.
Oh, he became
as
a
suffered
D-class
from the
personnel.
effects of consuming
Wow.
SCP-4032-1. First, he was brought in for observation and placed in cell 14B on the outside of Site 88. Dr. Logari noted copious amounts of flatulence being emitted by the subject, with high levels of hydrogen sulfide and
Oh my
methane.
gosh, they're so bad.
5
You can
hours later,
see
The
them.
subject was complaining about gas buildup in his cell, and the interior venting hood was activated. 3 hours and over 50 complaints later, maintenance staff deactivated the interior venting hood and opened exterior windows.
That's so
in an
funny.
attempt to quell some of the relentless flatulence.
Dude, they're making everybody so sick.
D-14478 was placed on an intravenous diet. After 2 days on the intravenous diet and no changes to the subject's gas emissions, medical staff conducted an endoscopy, which revealed that the colon was clear and there were no visible signs of rectal gas.
Where did
the
it
following day,
go?
a staff meeting was held in order to discuss the impact of D14478's condition on the quality of life at the facility. Both residents and researchers alike had complained about the persistent smell, which...
Okay, obviously nobody likes the smell, but we haven't answered the best question. Like, how many of these do you need to eat? Is it just one and then you're gonna fart forever? Or do you have to eat like 10 of these and then you're gonna have crazy gas for the rest of your life? Or if you just keep eating more, does it keep getting more like aggressive? Are your farts going to be nuclear farts if I eat like 69 berries? These are the answers that I need.
They were unable to escape and was permeating the air outside as well as throughout the interior of the building. Several options were proposed, including relocation, treatment, and failing all else, termination of the
you're gonna
subject.
kill him over the fart.
Resolution was passed
I guess that would be the first time we saw that.
in an outdoor facility until proper filtering equipment could be installed. A little over a week later, Foundation agents intercepted reports from nearby environmental watch groups concerning an increase in airborne pollution in the central Alabama area.
Are you
around
kidding
Site
me?
88,
So it does get worse.
D14478's condition threatening not only the morale at Site 88, but the environment itself.
Holy
An additional
smokes.
resolution was passed in order to transfer D14478 into an experimental air filtering cell. The cell had not yet passed a safety inspection.
Okay, so he's
Those with
probably
objections
going
were
to die.
overruled by the vote of the majority. The following day, subject D14478 was found dead in
Oh,
his
but
cell.
yeah, you saw
An
that coming a
investigation into
mile
the cause
away.
of death determined that the primary filter was improperly constructed.
Yup.
Both it and its associated sensor had malfunctioned.
Oh, wow.
There was one silver lining to this unfortunate incident,
The
however.
fart
The
stopped.
effects of SCP-4032-1 mercifully ceased following the subject's death.
Oh my
The
gosh.
post-mortem report was filed with the ethics committee, and Dr. Lugari was placed on temporary administrative leave. Meanwhile, a large order of scented candles was placed by the staff of Site 88.
This
And soon,
SCP is
the
so
unpleasant odor
ridiculous.
was replaced with
I
the
love
smells
it.
of lavender, vanilla, sugar, and pine. In Dr. Lugari's absence, Dr. Carlisle was appointed to the position of lead researcher on SCP-4032. Following the approval of the ethics committee, Dr. Carlisle began conducting a series of animal tests using SCP-4032.
Oh.
The first test subject
Does it
selected
work on
was
animals?
the Araucanian herring. An instance of
Do fish fart?
SCP-4032-1 was crushed and added to a mix of copepods and krill, which were then fed to a small school of herring. 15 minutes after the consumption of SCP-4032-1, the herring's
my
usual
God.
flatus production increased dramatically.
I didn't
This
realize
caused great
fish
distress to the
fart.
school of fish, as this species ordinarily uses flatulence as a means of communication.
That's so funny.
Samples of the
Wait,
flat-
did he just say that they fart to communicate? I feel like we should start trying this as a human population.
Were taken and analyzed, and were found to contain hydrogen sulfide and methane, though the levels of both were lower than they had been in human subjects. 3 hours after their initial feeding, the herring were euthanized and taken for autopsy and chemical analysis. There was no post-mortem evidence found of SCP-4032-1's effects.
That's so
Next,
weird.
a flock of chickens was selected
Oh,
for
no.
testing. They were offered a handful of SCP-4032-1
These poor
directly,
chickens.
which they refused to taste.
Good.
The fruit was then crushed and added to chicken feed.
Oh, no.
which was
They've
fed to the
been
chickens
tricked.
With great success.
They've
2
been
hours
tricked
after
by the
eating
fart berries.
SCP-4032-1, all of the chickens began to emit gas containing low levels of methane and hydrogen sulfide. The chickens were promptly euthanized and taken
No!
for analysis.
Poor
An autopsy
chickies.
determined that the birds' short intestinal tracts were distended.
What does that mean?
The first
Does anybody
recorded
know what that
visible
means?
sign of the fruit's impact on a test subject. The next animals selected
Oh
for
my
testing
God.
were brown-throated three-toed sloths. This particular species was chosen due to its lack of flatulence, as these sloths
They
tend to absorb
don't
flatus
fart?
and release it through their lungs, rather than rectally.
Oh, so they breathe
Fruit
out
was offered
farts?
directly at first, but
Interesting.
the sloths rejected it. The fruit was then crushed and ground.
So it
with
looks
a
like
mixture of
animals
tree
are
leaves
smarter than
and
humans
fed
when
the
it comes to
sloths.
eating the fart berries.
Whatever happened next has been redacted from the official Foundation file.
Wait,
But
what?
it was disturbing enough to bring a grinding halt to any and all future testing of
Okay, I have a theory that since sloths don't fart usually, they usually breathe it out, that maybe it just like didn't have anywhere to go and all of the gas built up and then the sloth exploded in like a giant nuclear fart. That's what I'm thinking.
SCP-4032 on large mammals. Any potential animal experiments involving SCP-4032 must be approved by the Ethics Committee in order to prevent another, quote, sloth
incident.
SCP-4032 has been contained in a cordoned-off portion of the research gardens at Site-67, which consists of the area around SCP-4032's original location. This land was purchased by the Foundation, and a research facility disguised as a personal estate was constructed there. SCP-4032, along with several other anomalous plants, is kept in the garden portion of the site. All instances of SCP-4032-1 are to be gathered from the ground on a daily basis
and then what?
Incinerated
Oh,
on site.
okay, yeah, that's probably for the best.
Found to be using the berries for unapproved personal purposes will be suspended or terminated from their positions.
He literally got caught with a fart berry. That's so embarrassing.
Captured and euthanized, and their bodies incinerated.
Oh wow, okay, that's a little aggressive.
Only one known specimen of SCP-4032. The Foundation has a contingency
I thought there were
plan in
two.
place should any additional specimens be discovered. If this happens, Mobile Task Force Alpha 67 Weed Whackers will be dispatched to the specimen's location, where they will uproot it and bring it back to Site 67 to be contained. Any humans that consume an instance of SCP-4032-1 must be contained in holding cells B1 through B5 along the outer perimeter of Site 67. Each of these cells is equipped with 3 air filters containing Thiobacillus thioparus, chemolithoatrophic sulfur-oxidizing bacteria.
Is he speaking
embedded in a
English?
mixture of peat and polyurethane. Each filter also contains sensors intended to detect hydrogen sulfide and methane. When the sensors are activated, members of Mobile Task Force Alpha 13, Odor Eaters, are dispatched to escort the affected individual outside.
That's such a funny nickname.
Can be repaired.
Fart
Currently,
Eaters.
The Foundation does not believe there to be any additional specimens of SCP-4032 in the wild. However, there is no way to be certain of this, due to the plant's relatively unassuming appearance and the lack of any information on its origins. It is entirely possible that there are more of these shrubs just waiting to be discovered by an unfortunate hiker wandering off the beaten path. So if you find yourself out in nature with an empty stomach, make sure that you have accurately identified any of the wild
not be
plants you
eating it.
consume. If you don't, you may be met with a fate that is silent but deadly.
Well, guys, this is exactly what happens to those that get trapped in SCP-3008.
His clothes were ragged. He was filthy.
My guy does not look good.
Man with a full beard and long, unkempt hair. His body was covered in scars, but he
what
showed no
happened
signs
to
of
my guy?
malnutrition. What made Martin's sudden appearance so remarkable? He'd been missing for 3 years.
Whoa!
When he was interviewed by police, they asked him where he'd been all this time. They couldn't believe his answer. He'd been trapped in an Ikea since 2008. But this
I feel
was
like they
no
just wouldn't
ordinary
believe that.
Ikea. This was a dangerous anomaly that would come to be known as SCP-3008.
I've heard a lot about this
Martin's answers in his
SCP.
interview were laughed off by his interviewing officers, who assumed he was either crazy or under the influence of
I
something.
mean, yeah,
But
who
they
would
caught
believe
the
that?
attention of an SCP Foundation field agent embedded in the precinct. The report was passed up the chain to a local site director, who approved a detachment of Foundation field operatives to look into Martin's case. While he was reluctant to lead the Foundation agents back to the offending Ikea, the Foundation can be extremely persuasive. His screams of, "Please, I'm begging you, don't take me back, don't make me go back."
So they basically
were
forced him
noted,
there
but
against his
ultimately
will
disregarded.
to go
When
back to the
the
place where he got
SCP Foundation
assaulted.
had triangulated the position of SCP-3008, which was indeed an active Ikea, the entire retail zone was closed and barricaded under the pretense of a severe black mold infestation. Armed Foundation personnel also arrived on the site shortly after, based on Martin's vague statements that there were creatures of some kind inside.
So pretty much this looks like an Ikea from the outside. I wonder how it looks on the inside.
Due to his deteriorating mental health, Martin was unable to provide a great deal of lucid information on the specific traits of SCP-3008. But one phrase he kept repeating was bigger on the inside. Once researchers were satisfied that Martin had delivered all the pertinent information.
Okay, I've been inside an Ikea before, and like it does look bigger on the inside. It's like a massive warehouse that they set up, these little tiny rooms everywhere, and then you kind of just get lost in there. So I mean, I could understand how some people could get trapped in there for a few hours, maybe a few days, maybe a few years if you really like the meatballs.
He was able to, he was administered Foundation amnestics to erase his memory of the last 3 years.
That's probably for the best bet. Yeah, so that he's not like traumatized for the rest of his life.
And abused for 3 years by a mentally unbalanced stalker in downtown Carson. He'd been able to escape as said stalker took his own life out of guilt, a suicide that the Foundation expertly fabricated to make their cover story airtight. With the loose end of Martin Sims taken care of, the true observation of SCP-3008 could begin.
The SCP Foundation does not play around.
Mysterious Ikea kept a 24-hour watch on the building, covering all potential entrances and exits. No exploratory missions had yet been approved by the Foundation Ethics Committee, so they first wanted to perform a week of external observation to see if any of the store's anomalous properties extended beyond the confines of the
Okay, guys, I want you to comment down below what you would do if you were the SCP Foundation. Like, how would you kind of like, contain this situation? Personally, I would do what they did so far. I would like, secure the perimeter, not really go inside yet. But what I'm thinking is we could get something similar to like the Mars rover, for instance, or just like any sort of robot that has a camera, and then you just send that inside. That way, you don't have to waste any D-class personnel.
building. After a week of nothing, it appeared they did not. A local site director approved of the use of 20 disposable Class D personnel.
Of course, they go. I swear, the SCP Foundation loves using D-class personnel when they could just use robots.
Of SCP-3008. The D-class operatives would be split into 4 squads of 5 men: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta Squad. Each would be assigned a different quadrant of the store and would deliver information back to the control team on site via a live audio and video link.
Okay.
4 teams upon entering the store.
But you could use
reported nothing
robots.
out of the ordinary. Neither the audio or video they were sending back indicated anything different from a standard Ikea store, from the flat-pack wardrobes to the Swedish meatballs. Team Delta, however,
That is
suddenly began
insane.
experiencing a scrambled audio and video connection. Shortly after, communication with Team Delta dropped off entirely. They disappeared somewhere inside the store and haven't been seen since.
Okay, I'm sure you guys remember the first guy that came out of the Ikea. Somehow he escaped, and all over his body he had like marks and scratches. So there's clearly something inside that can do some serious damage. We just don't know what it is yet.
With one notable exception. After the disappearance and the extraction of teams, Foundation researchers classified SCP-3008 as Euclid because its anomalous properties were at least confined to the interior of the store.
Exactly.
And even then, seemingly not the entire interior. The anomalous area within SCP-3008 became known as SCP-3008-1, and containment appeared to be 100% secure. There was no telling
that's
how many
good.
people had already gone missing in the store over the years, but the disappearances must be stopped. The Foundation maintained constant surveillance around the perimeter of SCP-3008, but
That is kind of pretty crazy to think about. There's probably so many people that have, just told their friends and family, like, hey, I need a new plant. I'm gonna go to Ikea. Maybe I'll get some lunch and like get some meatballs and stuff. And then they just disappeared forever. When in reality, they went to an SCP Ikea and got trapped there forever.
it appeared they could prevent any further incidents by simply preventing other civilians from accessing the Ikea store. Martin's ravings about monsters were assumed to just be the product of delirium, until a surviving member of Delta Team suddenly reappeared. The date was November 3rd.
Oh, he
2011.
actually
It
came
was a
back.
cold night, a few hours after what would have been closing time if the store were still active, and 7 months after the extraction teams had disappeared somewhere in the confines of SCP-3008. There had been no anomalous activity outside the store since the perimeter was first secured, and the Foundation researchers hadn't expected that to change until the last surviving member of Delta Team came barging out of the store's entrance.
He actually made it out?
Field operatives were amazed to see him again,
What?
but they were even more amazed to see what was following him out
Oh
of the
my
store,
God.
repeating the same
It's a
phrase,
Swedish
"Store is now
man."
closed, please exit the building." Despite the fact that the entity chasing the Delta Team survivor was wearing the yellow shirt and blue pants of an Ikea store employee, the being
Where is his
definitely was
face?
not human. It was around 7 feet tall with no
7
visible
feet?
face. The entity had grossly extended limbs, with each arm being around 5 or 6 feet long and ending in a huge oversized hand.
Okay, guys, so it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the size and shape of the Shy Guy SCP. Like it kind of looks like a human, but not really. It's like super tall and skinny, and it has really long limbs. And more importantly, it can do some serious damage.
The whole process was so sudden that the field agents present at the perimeter weren't able to save the Delta Team survivor.
Oh my
as
God,
the
he
entity
died?
reached forward with his freakishly
No.
long arms, grabbed him, and twisted his head off like a child's
What?
doll. The field operatives present drew their weapons and peppered the entity with bullets. It would later be
Are you
classified
kidding
as
me?
SCP-3008-2. The being appeared to collapse and die from the physical trauma.
Oh,
At
okay,
which
so it's not
point
as strong
it
as
and
Shy
the
Guy.
body of the former Delta Team survivor were taken for an autopsy by Foundation researchers. There were no biological abnormalities of the body of the Delta Team survivor, so it did not appear that the anomalous properties of SCP-3008-1 had any effect on the physiology of its occupants.
Okay, so basically what they're saying is that the 20 D-class personnel that they sent in there and everybody else that's been inside of this IKEA has just been like living in there. Like you can eat the food, you can use the furniture, like it's only SCP whatever 3008-2 that are actually going to hurt you, which is honestly kind of crazy. Like they're just living inside an IKEA. Which, honestly, like, that doesn't sound too bad.
He was not malnourished despite being missing for months, and the contents of his stomach looked to be half-digested food consistent with the menu of a typical IKEA store restaurant.
That is so funny.
SCP-3008-2, on the other hand, raised a number of perplexing biological questions. The autopsy revealed that the creature's clothes were actually part of its body, like an additional layer of skin. The creature lacked
That's
blood
creepy.
or any kind of vascular system. Even stranger, the entity didn't appear to have bones or internal organs,
So
not even a brain
what
or nervous system.
is it?
It was a being made entirely of skin all the way to its core. How it was
What?
able to move, or even live for that matter, remains a mystery. Though when you work for the SCP Foundation,
These
you learn to
SCPs
accept
creep
that
me
some
out.
things will always remain unexplained. One thing was certain though, Martin Sims was right about his monsters. After the incident with Delta Team, the Foundation deemed that sending manned explorations into the heart of SCP-3008 was too much of a liability, and planned a series of drone-based reconnaissance missions into the anomaly. The first of these drones experienced connection issues and failed when attempting to venture into the IKEA's anomalous zone. However, after a lengthy period of trial and error, the Foundation was able to establish a more secure connection with its drones, even when deep into the SCP-3008-1 anomalous zone. It was only then that some of the most extraordinary discoveries were made. SCP-3008-1 seemed to break the laws of spatial reality, as the area of the IKEA's interior was at
wow.
least an order of magnitude larger.
So the guy Martin at the start of today's video was right when he said that it's bigger on the inside than it actually looks on the outside. So like I wonder if it's infinite on the inside.
Larger than its exterior. Just as Martin Sims had said, it was bigger on the inside, but just how much bigger? The Foundation has yet to find evidence of any physical terminators within the store that might indicate SCP-3008-1 has an end point.
So
While an
it
area of
is
at least
infinite.
10 kilometers squared has been uncovered
Wow.
in SCP-3008-1.
10 kilometers?
It could, in theory, be infinite. Laser rangefinder tests, which are
Holy
normally
smokes.
very reliable, have only given inconclusive results. Interestingly, the anomalous area doesn't have any clear visual differences from the rest of the IKEA store, except that it extends forever. An individual trapped within the confines of SCP-3008-1 wouldn't even realize they've entered an anomalous zone until they tried to locate an exit and leave, at which point they'd find they were already hopelessly lost. The geography of SCP-3008-1 does at least appear to be consistent, so people trapped within are theoretically able to retrace their steps and escape if they haven't already ventured too deep.
See guys, I don't know. This is one of those SCPs that like, it feels like it could exist a little bit, since I'm sure you guys have been in an IKEA or a store very similar where like it's just so massive that you feel like you're lost sometimes. Like you could just get confused by all of the different like hallways and different places that you can go down and all of the things to look at, and the restaurant with the Swedish meatballs, they're pretty distracting. So I could see how like something like this, I don't know, could be very believable, even though obviously like there's no such thing as an infinite IKEA. That just can't be possible. However, I could see something like the world's biggest IKEA, people could get trapped in there for days without anybody knowing. It could happen.
According to data collected during the drone reconnaissance missions, SCP-3008-2, of which there appear to be a vast population, would wander the stores aimlessly during the day. They are unresponsive to the drone's presence and did not appear to be aggressive.
So they're
While the
pretty much
physical
just
descriptions
zombies.
of these creatures could vary slightly, they all follow the same overall trend. Clothes consistent with an IKEA uniform, no face, either seemingly too tall or too short, and limbs that are grossly out of proportion with their bodies. As the Foundation began sending drones deeper into SCP-3008-1, they found another incredible discovery. There was an unknown population of humans trapped inside
What?
IKEA's anomalous zone. And
So it's the people that have been trapped in there, the people that have, been missing for years and years and years. They have their own little civilization inside of this SCP. I don't think I've ever seen an SCP like that before.
These people had used the IKEA furniture around them to create entire settlements and
What?
towns within the store. There were several of these towns.
Okay,
all
this
of
would
which
actually
seemed
be a
to
really cool
cohabitate
TV show.
peacefully. Even Foundation personnel found this development in their research to be truly extraordinary. Since SCP-3008 was first identified, there have been only 14 civilian escapes. Some had been trapped inside for months, others had been in there for years, some
Wow.
far longer than Martin's 3-year stint. While every one of these escapees has eventually been released back to their home, after a liberal application of amnestics and a proper cover story has been devised, the Foundation interviewed each of them extensively first. According to each of these escapees, the people trapped inside the IKEA have built an entirely new society across the various settlements. Contrary to the Lord of the
That
Flies
is
expectations of a group
incredible.
of people isolated and afraid, there's immense cooperation between the trapped civilians.
I am kind of curious though, why have only a few people escaped? Considering like it seems like some of these people that did escape, they were in the civilization, so eventually they decided to leave. I wonder if like, you know, most of the people there, maybe they're just happy. Maybe they like have a system down, they get free food, they get, you know, a really cool place to live. They probably built up like giant walls using couches and other furniture to keep out like the really bad zombie SCPs. So I feel like some of them might actually like it there and don't want to escape. I can't be sure, but I could see that happening.
The food in the several IKEA restaurants in SCP-3008-1 mysteriously replenishes while nobody's there, so there's no threat of starving. And the automatic turning on and off of the lights forms as a rudimentary kind of day and night cycle. Nighttime, however, is when things get dangerous, as the SCP-3008-2 entities, which are known to the people inside as the staff, become extremely hostile after dark. Aggressive hordes of the staff swarm the settlements at night, repeating, "This door is now closed, please exit the building."
I
The
mean, that would be
civilians inside are
pretty
usually
scary.
able to repel these attacks with minimal casualties, but the constant war of attrition slowly wears down those inside. The bodies of the creatures also need to be removed from the area after each attack, as the presence of corpses or even parts of corpses has been known to heighten the ferocity of the next night's attack. During the day, the staff return to a docile and unresponsive state, though they'll still defend themselves violently if anyone dares to attack. Over the course of the
Interesting.
interviews with the 14 escapees, Foundation researchers were able to answer another of their key questions. How had so many people gone missing in the store for so long without being noticed? But the answer
Exactly.
they received only raised many more unsettling queries. According to the escapees, there were people inside the settlements that, despite being otherwise of entirely sound mind and standard intelligence, seemed to lack very common knowledge that even a child should know. For
Like
example,
what?
some of them weren't aware of the International Space Station orbiting the Earth, or stranger still, the existence of the Statue of Liberty.
Wait a second. So everybody knows what those things are. So either A, they're stupid, or B, they're not from like the normal universe that you and I know. Like they're from these like alternate universes where maybe there isn't an International Space Station, or maybe they were taken, hold on, maybe they were put inside of this IKEA before those things even existed. So maybe some of those people in there are like hundreds of years old. And maybe when you go inside this IKEA, you are now just like, you are basically invincible and you can never die. I don't know. I don't know which one it is. I don't know. Maybe it's alternate universes, or maybe it's pulling people from different periods in time. Like maybe it's pulling cavemen into this system and then they're just trapped there forever.
This led the researchers to a frightening conclusion. SCP-3008-1 may not only be a nexus point of multiple IKEA stores in our dimension, it could be connected to IKEAs in every dimension where IKEAs exist.
Wow.
While it only abducts a handful of people from each store over an extended period of time, it suddenly becomes clear how this SCP was able to trap so many people without detection over such a long period of time, which in turn led to an even more terrifying revelation.
Also,
The
why
SCP
does it want to
Foundation may
trap
not
these
have
people?
SCP-3008-1 as contained as they thought. It might even be tucked away in an IKEA store somewhere near you, just waiting for you to visit.
Okay, all right, let's not go
there's
there.
always room for one more.
Here we go, boys.
An Air Canada flight experiences severe malfunctions.
Oh, they are
while
going
traveling from
down,
London
dude.
to
They are going
Vancouver.
all the way down to the
Pilots are
ground.
unable to do anything, and the plane
Look at them
crashes into
panicking.
the woods of northern Alberta. The crash was devastating. Only 10 of the nearly 300 people on board are alive.
Oh my gosh,
And even
dude.
though they survived the initial
Are you
disaster,
serious?
their battle for life has only just begun.
This is like the
It's
plot
late
of the
autumn
TV
in
show
northern
Lost.
Canada, and there's no telling when help will arrive, if at all. If the survivors want to make it through the night, they need to find shelter and fast.
I feel
As they
so
trudge through
bad
the
for these
freezing
people.
woods, the group finds a path that looks like it might lead them to civilization. After all, if there was a path in the woods, that meant they were probably in a national park. And if they were in a national park, there had to be a ranger station
Oh,
around
yeah,
somewhere
good
where they could
thinking.
warm up and call for help.
Okay, guys, comment down below what you would do if you were in a plane crash and you were with like a bunch of random strangers in the middle of nowhere. Would you stay and wait for help, or would you try to venture out into the wilderness and try to find maybe fresh water, maybe some food, or maybe even people that can go get help for you? Let me know in the comments.
They didn't have many other options, so they followed the path which opened up to a clearing. But instead of finding a ranger station or campground, they found something none of them could have expected.
It's the
It was a
red
pond,
pool.
but there was
No.
something off about it.
Guys,
As they got
imagine
closer,
being
they
in
saw
a
that the
plane
same
crash and then you
pond
run into
wasn't
one of the
filled with
deadliest
blood,
SCPs of all
but
time.
blood.
That is
The
so scary.
survivors were horrified. That couldn't really be blood, could it? It must have been a weird algae or chemical reaction. But one member of the group, a man named Thomas Dean, who had been on his way back to his hometown of Prince George, British Columbia.
Is he like some sort of
thought there was
SCP
something
expert?
strangely familiar about this.
Interesting.
He remembered being a boy and going to visit family in Alberta, and hearing an urban legend from the older local kids. According to the stories, somewhere out in the wilderness, in the northern part of the province, there was a pond full of human blood. And what made it even
What?
worse was that some said the pond was a gateway to hell. The SCP Foundation
That is exactly what it is, ladies and gentlemen.
and had been trying to pinpoint the exact source of it for decades prior to the Air Canada crash. They would finally receive definite confirmation of the blood pond when Foundation personnel intercepted a radio transmission from a ranger station located within the Wood Buffalo National Park. It was the survivors of the crash who had managed to make it through the night. And
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so these people obviously survived, but the one guy that heard of the urban legend, he actually is spot on. This SCP, for those of you guys that don't know, actually can spawn in other SCPs. They're like a subclass of this SCP, so there's SCP-354-1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and some of them are like as crazy as you can think. So these people are in for a rude awakening. I do not want to be these people. I feel so bad for them.
they were about to be escorted out of the park by rangers. The Foundation mobilized quickly to cordon off the pond, as at the time they were unsure of what potentially harmful properties the pond might have had. They set up watch station.
Oh, wow, so the people actually got out okay. That's amazing.
The pond was given the designation of SCP-354 and classed as Euclid. Foundation scientists made a number.
So for those of you guys that haven't seen an SCP video, Euclid class basically means that it's like a neutral sort of thing. It's kind of like a Minecraft spider. If you leave it alone and stay away from it, it's not going to do anything to you. But if you engage with it, it has the potential to turn deadly.
Of interesting discoveries about SCP-354 when they collected samples for testing. First, the pond was not in fact full of blood.
What actually
Merely
is
an
it?
Inorganic liquid that closely resembles blood in color and consistency.
Oh, weird.
Second, and even stranger than the red liquid, is that the pond doesn't seem to have any definite banks or a bottom. Instead,
There's
the liquid
no
in the pond increases
bottom?
in density as the radius away from the center increases. The liquid congeals at the edges, becoming more solid and blending into the surrounding soil.
Oh, wow. So this
It
could
also
like take
becomes thicker
over
as one
the
descends deeper
world.
into the pool.
Honestly,
And the
it's
bottom of
infinite.
the pond has not yet been reached, if it even exists.
Whoa.
Initially, the Foundation found no signs of life within the blood pond. but that would
Until
all change at
something
2:03 p.m.
happens.
on the day following the
Yup.
opening of Watch Station.
Oh, I'm ready
Epsilon
for this.
38. When the science team noticed an unusual level of activity on the pond's surface, security footage feeds showed a shape
There's the
rising out of
first
pond,
creature.
followed by a deafening shriek. After that, the feed was cut and Foundation lost all communication with Watch Station Epsilon 38. Fearing the worst, a mobile task force was dispatched to the location. When they got there, all personnel from Watch Station had been killed by what could only be described as a gigantic bat.
That
The
thing
task
is
force was
huge.
able
That's
to
like the size
neutralize
of
the entity,
5 people.
and as soon as they could, the Foundation moved in to increase security around the SCP.
I mean, yeah,
creating
that's the
Area
smartest thing to do.
354 and installing a permanent security detail. After this point, the pond started to regularly spit out a variety of monstrous entities, almost as if it was reacting to the SCP Foundation's increased security measures. After SCP-354-1, the giant bat, came SCP-354-2.
They get even worse.
354-2 was an echidna-like monster the size of a bear.
Wait, is that like
was
an
virtually
armadillo?
bulletproof, but unable to escape
What?
Area 354. The Foundation neutralized this anomaly with napalm. SCP-354-3 was a floating
Okay,
black
what
sphere
is
capable
that?
of firing deadly beams of concentrated energy. The area's head scientist was able to hit it with a sledgehammer, causing the sphere to malfunction and self-destruct before it was able to escape.
Okay, guys, the first two kind of made sense. You know, they were like animals, or at least like variations of animals. There was a bat, there was like a bear-like armadillo. This one is a lot different. So I thought for a second that this SCP only spit out like really, I don't know, like Godzilla forms of like normal animals, like just giant versions of any type of animal that we already know about. But this one's different. This one is like a cyborg sphere that has electric abilities. So I wonder like how it decides what to send out from the red pool.
Area. The Foundation wasn't as lucky with SCP-354-4.
Is that a dragon?
This creature was a reptilian humanoid that stood roughly 15 feet tall and was unable to be
It's
put
Joe
down
Biden.
with gunfire. This was the first creature from the pond to
Oh my
successfully
God.
escape containment and was only
You
able to
gotta
be
be kidding
neutralized
me.
when the Foundation sent in Mobile Task Force Omega-7, also known as
Oh,
Pandora's
nice.
Box. The data on pond incursions is partially corrupted, so a complete list of creatures is not available.
I do know for a fact that there's more than just 4 creatures. So they said that the list is not available. There are definitely more creatures from the red pool. I know for a fact too, I'm pretty sure there's like some sort of fire and ice tiger. So I'm curious if we're going to see that. I also am pretty sure that there might be some sort of like Terminator cyborg that comes out of the red pool.
But some of the other monsters
Yup,
that came out of the
there it
blood
is.
pond included
Literally,
the robot,
as I
a
said
set of
it.
gigantic
And the
tentacles that dragged
octopus.
several D-class personnel into the pond. A pair of panther-like creatures,
There it is.
one made of ice and the other of magma, that ignored Foundation staff and instead fought each other.
What
And
is
one
this
seemingly
dude?
normal human man who
Huh?
was executed as soon as he emerged from the pond.
He walked up like, hey guys, I've been stuck there for years. I'm totally normal. And they were like, not a chance. Boom. You're dead.
Tests on his body revealed that he was, in fact,
Oh my
totally normal
gosh, he
and
was
would have
normal?
posed no threat.
You gotta
These
be
anomalies
kidding
came
me.
out of the pond at fairly regular intervals for several months, before the pond went silent for an unprecedented 22 months. The head scientist
so
at the time
weird and
noted,
random.
I suspect this means one of two things. Either the red pool has died or powered down,
Huh.
whatever the correct term for
There's
it
no
is,
way that it
or
died.
is charging up for something big to
I
come through.
feel like it
Both
might be
believes
charging
the
up.
former is the most likely explanation, and has recalled 30% of our total personnel and cut 25%
Really?
of our funding.
So they think that
While
it's
I can only
powering
hope
down.
that they are correct. If the latter situation is true, we're soon to face some terrible monstrosity, and we won't have anywhere near the force necessary to deal with it.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure that the most deadly thing to come out of the red pool are like these giant octopus tentacles. That's like the biggest thing that I know of that comes out of the red pool. But what they're saying is that it might be powering up to unleash something even bigger.
I worry for all of our safety. His words would prove eerily prophetic following the events of exploratory mission 354 Alpha. The Foundation's research and development team built a specialized craft
Whoa.
to explore the pond. Because of the strange properties of the pond's
It has
density,
a drill
the craft
on
was
it?
essentially made to be both
That's
a submarine
sick.
for parts of the pond where the contents were liquid, and a drill for when the liquid congealed into a semi-solid towards the bottom. The exploration team consisted of Agent Swanson, Agent Turquoise,
they all
Agent
dead.
86,
They all
Dr.
gonna
J.
die.
MacArthur, Chris
R.I.P..
Simmons, Leroy Tucker, and a pilot named
Who is
Martin.
Agent
With the team
86?
assembled,
That's such
the
a
ship was
random
sent
name.
down into
That's
the
like
pond.
Elon Musk's
Nothing
son.
eventful happened for the first 2 days of the mission, but at 4:30 a.m. on the third day,
Whoa-
gravity
whoa.
suddenly reversed for the crew of the ship. This
Wait
seemed
a
to indicate
second.
that they were approaching the halfway point, though what would be on the other
Gravity
side, nobody
went
could say.
away?
On the fourth day, the ship
Huh?
surfaced, proving
Wait,
definitely
what?
that the pond was in fact some sort of portal. The crew looked out of the portholes to see the darkness of night above them. While sensors outside the
Hold
ship
on.
detected nothing harmful in the atmosphere around them, the crew were wary of exiting the
So it really is just a portal to a different SCP dimension that has these insane creatures. It's kind of like the Upside Down in Stranger Things.
craft. The other side of the pond was nothing like the world the crew knew. For one thing, the night lasted for 28 hours before dawn came, and when the sun finally rose, it was much larger and redder than the Earth's sun.
That's their
Under the light
sun.
of the strange
Holy
red star,
smokes.
The crew could see that the pond on this side was massive compared to what they've come into, more like a large lake. Surrounding the lake was sand and rocks that were covered in a kind of moss that disappeared under sunlight and regrew during the night. The team left the ship and started to explore.
Wait. They left the ship? Did they not see the creatures coming out from the other side of this? Like, they should be way more prepared. I know that they have like this like top awesome secret agent task force, but like seriously, they should be bringing like way more than just 8 agents. They should have like SEAL Team 6 in there.
A strange world, they found that the day lasted just a few hours shorter than the night, meaning that whatever planet they were on had a roughly 43-hour-long rotation as opposed to our own planet's 24.
So it has to be a lot bigger than planet Earth.
On their expedition, including razor-sharp grass that can puncture skin and streams of liquid carbon dioxide.
Okay, that's terrifying.
They heard some loud roars in the distance once or twice, but other than that, the planet was eerily silent, with seemingly no animal life and not even wind.
I mean,
When
something
it rained,
really
the
bad is
soil
about to
ran
happen.
dry, and based on that, the scientists theorized the plants in this world were more efficient at absorbing moisture. On the 25th day, the team ran into a huge metal wall that appeared to be artificially constructed. Luckily, Leroy Tucker, a quick-thinking researcher, was able to rig a blowtorch from camping supplies and melt a hole through the metal. On the other side, there was finally
Guys, I feel like these SCP investigator dudes are like way too comfortable right now. They are going into the unknown, and I don't see a single AK-47 on any one of these guys.
And odd black grass. That's the extent of what is known about the other side of the wall.
That's it?
Because the expedition logs are heavily corrupted after that point. But we know that whatever was in there wasn't good, because the team never returned. Strangely,
Okay, so
there's
they
no
saw
record of any
something
names
horrible.
mentioned in the ship's log, almost as if being killed on the other side completely erased them from history. No other expeditions into the pond were launched after that.
Did
On
they
an
die
undisclosed
there?
date, a year following the discovery of the Blood Pond and construction of Area 354, the site was completely evacuated, and power was cut to the area. Mobile task force
Wait a second. They completely abandoned the site where like these underground purgatory monsters were coming out of? I feel like that is, I don't know, a little bit weird. They should definitely leave at least a few people there to monitor the situation. Like, what if actual, like, I don't know, the devil comes out of there, or Godzilla, or something even worse than those two combined? Like, somebody should be there just in case.
The 12 was dispatched to investigate the cause of the evacuation, but before contact could be established, the area's on-site nuclear warhead was detonated.
They have a nuke?
Destroying the site.
Wait,
MTF
but
Theta
what
12
about
was
the
then
Red
attacked
Pool?
by a convoy made up of D-class and other low-ranking staff who
Wait,
had evacuated
what?
Area 354.
Guys, I've
It was
never seen
apparent
this.
that there
They're
had been
fighting
some
each
kind of
other.
mutiny within the site, and that a dissolution of the chain of command had led to its evacuation and
I've
destruction.
never seen this
The convoy
before.
totally annihilated MTF Theta 12.
Are you
and
serious?
No further contact with the former personnel of Area 354 has been made since.
Dude,
Following
this
the
is
site's
crazy.
detonation, a new site was constructed called simply the Red Pool Containment Site. Unlike the previous facility, which focused on research and neutralization, the new site is entirely concerned with containment.
I mean,
The
yeah,
shift
that's
and directive
smart.
Came as a response to the pond's apparent reactive nature. Each creature that emerged from the pond seemed to be in retaliation to the Foundation's actions, and it
So, okay, what they're saying is that as long as they leave the pond alone, that it won't attack them, which is why it's a Euclid class. As long as you leave anything that's like a Euclid class alone, then it won't try to fight back.
was theorized by some that the mutiny at Area 354 was triggered by some kind of psychic attack from the pond itself. An interview in the SCP file on 354 reveals that there was one more disastrous attempt to control and understand.
Oh boy, here we go.
According to an interview with a Foundation agent, the head doctor proposed a scheme to drain the blood pond using a system of pumps and hoses.
That's a horrible
All non-essential
idea.
Personnel were evacuated in case of emergency, leaving only the pump technicians, D-class personnel,
They're dead.
and a few agents.
They're
for
gonna
security.
die. They're gonna
However,
perish.
As soon as the pump was
They're gonna
scheduled
get
to be
yeeted.
turned on, everyone at the site experienced a mass dissociative episode.
Okay, so the red pool does have some sort of psychic property. I don't know if it's maybe like a chemical that it releases or what, but it can take over your mind on top of releasing the most crazy creatures of all time. This thing is honestly, this is one of the craziest SCPs that we've ever investigated.
described the feeling they all experienced as like being in a dream and suddenly realizing that you're asleep. He said, "Everything stopped being real. It was like we had to escape right now. When asked what happened when the pump was turned on, he simply explained that it wouldn't let them. This interview confirmed the theory that the pond is not only capable of releasing monsters out into our world, but also that it's capable of powerful but much more subtle psychological attacks. This suggests a chilling possibility that the pond isn't just blindly reacting to being attacked, but it's fully sentient. And the actions of the SCP Foundation have only served to annoy it.
It has like a brain, and it can think.
Banks have proved evidence that the area of congealed liquid around the perimeter of the pond has been steadily expanding. That's right.
Okay, so it's going to
bigger.
Take over the world. It's what I'm hearing.
At the site said before being dragged out of the interview and sedated was, "It gets bigger and stronger every day, and now we've made it angry."
Let's check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
And there are only seconds left before the final bell rings and school is officially out for summer.
This is one of the best moments in all of kid history.
Bouncing her leg in anticipation.
The moments before it's summer vacation are like literally the best moments. I remember this every single year.
But more importantly, she can take her mom up on a life-changing promise.
Oh, what's that?
They made a deal when they moved to this new town. If she could get through 6th grade with straight A's and good feedback from her teachers, she could finally get a pet of her own. There were some stipulations, of course. The pet can't be too big.
All right. So it can't be like a dog, can't be a bird. Maybe like a frog? A goldfish?
Down, studied hard, and even found a math tutor.
Okay, that math tutor is kind of sus.
In 5, 4.
Oh, come on.
3.
She's so excited, dude. Her excitement is contagious. I'm excited for her.
And the class erupted.
Yes. Let's go. Summer vacation. Yes. Yes.
She barely catches her teacher's parting words of, "Have a great summer vacation."
Yeah, nobody
everyone.
cares. It's summer vacation. I don't have to talk to you.
Kids all rushing toward the buses, their parents' cars, or their final walk home of the school year. She's right there with them.
Dude, she is so excited. Look at that smile.
Many of the faces in the hall are still unfamiliar. After a year of being the new kid in town, she hasn't made many friends.
Aw, that is kind of tough.
Now. She's going to get a special friend today, something all her own that she can nurture, play with, and won't ever have to worry about.
That's so exciting.
It's only a short walk to the pet store, and then an even shorter walk to her house. As she makes her way down the sidewalk, the sun beaming down on her smiling face, the girl
she will not stop smiling.
What kind of pet should she get?
Ooh, by the way, if you guys have any pets, comment what they are down below and their name.
The dog needs to be walked.
I have 2 cats and a dog and a lizard.
Maybe, but you can't play with a fish.
Yeah, that's true. Fish are cool to look at, but yeah, you can't play with it.
She remembers a pet tarantula her eccentric aunt once had.
That would be kind of cool, but a little bit scary.
She wants something friendly, something small.
Ooh, hamsters, nice.
But something she can cuddle and really bond with.
Maybe a cat's too big.
She's going to take great care of it. She spots the sign in the shape of a dog playing with a ball.
That is so adorable.
She's reached the pet store.
Yes.
Inside, there are an overwhelming number of options.
Ooh, whoa! Holy smokes, that is a big lizard.
Slithery snakes.
Whoa! Oh my gosh!
Colored tails.
Oh.
Nearby, there are fat green tree frogs.
Get that!
Toads with huge
yes,
watery eyes.
yes, get them all.
Pauses at the fish, enticed by their vivid colors and the staggering variety of shapes and sizes.
Wait a second, is she there by herself, or like did her mom take her there? Did I miss that? I don't know, but it kind of seems like she's there by herself.
But a fish is such a boring pet, she thinks. What can you even do with a fish? She moves on, looking at a litter of fluffy, tabby kittens. They
yes!
roll around on top of each other.
They are adorable!
Stretching their soft paws. They're adorable, and her heart melts. But then she thinks about having to scoop a litter box and decides to move on.
It is kind of gross sometimes having to scoop poop.
Sleek-looking rats, tiny white mice with pink eyes, and gerbils running on
Ooh,
wheels.
gerbils would be nice.
Suddenly,
or guinea pigs. I had guinea pigs when I was younger.
Exotic pets, it reads.
Whoa, cool. Snakes, maybe?
She goes into the section, almost feeling like she's stumbled into somewhere she shouldn't be. There are ferrets wiggling around, playing with the ball, fluffy chinchillas that look impossibly plush.
That is amazing.
Little sugar gliders peeking out of clock
What? I didn't even know you could have those as a pet.
There's even a skunk.
Are you
blinking at
serious?
her curiosity.
What?
But
A
nothing
skunk?
feels quite right. None of these pets seem like the one she has to bring home.
Huh.
Then, out of the corner of her eye, she spots something curious. A row
What
of
is
small cardboard
that?
packages covered with inviting cartoonish text, advertising something called a custom pet.
What?
She picks up one of the packages and reads the description. It sounds impossible, too good to be true. Just buy these packaged eggs, place them anywhere in your house, and a perfectly matched pet will hatch and fit right in.
Wait a second, they
It will
sell
become
that at the
exactly
pet
kind of
store?
pet that you need. She looks for any sort of fine print, something that might indicate this is a toy or some kind of joke, but it looks real. Could it be? Shyly, the girl...
So for those of you guys that have never heard of the SCP Dr. Wondertainment before, most people don't know if it's one person or if it's like a business, but essentially they focus on creating custom SCPs targeted at kids. So I just recently watched another video where Dr. Wondertainment made a chicken noodle soup that, long story short, if you didn't follow the instructions and you ate it, you would turn into a fully grown KFC chicken and you would be served up at Chick-fil-A. So Dr. Wondertainment kind of like sells good SCPs as long as you follow the instructions. So I'm very curious to see about these custom pets because I could see it either turning out really cool or it could go really bad if she doesn't follow the instructions on how to hatch the egg correctly.
takes one of the packages up to the cash register. The employee goes to scan it, but there's no barcode.
Well, of course
"You
not.
bring
It's an
this in with you?" The
SCP.
cashier asks. She shakes her head. Okay, well, we don't sell these, so I guess you can just take it? The
What?
girl's eyes go wide. Really? She can just have it for free? The cashier is already waving her off, beckoning the next customer to come.
Okay, guys, if I was a cash register, I don't think that I would just like let something go for free. I would probably like talk to my manager or not just give it away, especially to such a little girl. Like, you don't even know what it is. This guy didn't even check it out. And it just seems like such a weird idea. It honestly kind of reminds me of like those fossil dinosaur eggs. I don't know if you guys ever got those before, but I used to get them all the time at like Walmart, where it gives you like a little mining pick and you could like mine out a little tiny like dinosaur fossil. But obviously it doesn't come to life and it doesn't turn into a real pet like this says that it will. So I feel like this guy probably should not have given it away for free.
Check out. Not wanting to question her good luck, she takes off without a second thought. The run home from the pet store is a total blur of excitement. All she wants to do is get inside, make a peanut butter sandwich, and figure out where to put her new pet's egg before her mom gets home from work. Not that she's doing anything wrong. It's just easier if she takes care of things before her mom can ask too many questions. She's
Interesting.
doing
This
them
is
both a
not
favor,
good.
really, taking care
No.
of all the logistics so her mom doesn't have to worry about it. She pulls her house key from her pocket and unlocks the door with shaking hands.
Guys, if you
Almost
ever
time.
see a sus
Forget the
thing at the
sandwich.
store,
sandwich can wait.
do not
She
get
needs
it.
to get upstairs to her
It could
room
be an
right now
SCP.
and start her life with her new pet, whatever it ends up being. She throws her backpack on her bed and sits down on the floor, tearing open the cardboard packaging. Inside, there are 6 tiny eggs sealed in
6?
plastic. She just
What?
wants one pet, so she'll start with 1 egg for now.
They're so
Of course,
tiny.
If the pet ends up being lonely, maybe it'll want a friend? She shakes off the thought.
So
She
what
can
are the
figure all of
instructions
those
here?
details out later. She's just about to puncture the plastic so the egg can breathe when she
What?
stops. Where should she put it? She was so excited to leave the store, she forgot to pick up a tank or terrarium or somewhere a
Well,
traditional
she
pet
doesn't
would
even
live.
know where it's gonna be or
Packaging
what
says
it
these
is.
Pets can live anywhere, but do they really mean anywhere?
Anywhere?
If she does something wrong and her new pet is hurt or doesn't hatch at all, it'll just break her heart.
So guys, I don't know if this SCP is going to be like an actual pet. Like imagine it hatches and it's like Shy Guy as an SCP. I don't think it'll be that. I think that maybe it'll be a like super exotic pet. Since in the pet store, it was in like the exotic pet section, it probably, I don't know, is going to be like a lizard with 2 heads, or maybe it'll be like a combination of animals, similar to like maybe like a shark dog or something like that. I feel like that would be really cool, but also super creepy at the same time. And what if she gets an SCP pet that isn't super friendly? Like, what if she got like a combination, like a crocodile lion as her SCP pet? You just got to cross your fingers and hope that that thing doesn't eat you while you're sleeping.
Then she spots a potential solution. An old dollhouse, frilly and pastel pink and surprisingly spacious inside.
Ooh,
sits next
nice.
to her bed.
Good find.
She hasn't played with dolls in a while, insisting she was too old for them when she started 6th grade.
Well, now
But
you can have a
she's
pet
thrilled that she
instead
didn't
of a
get rid the
doll.
Dollhouse just yet. Even if the dolls don't live there anymore, maybe now it can be a home for something new. For whatever hatches
It's
out
so
of this
tiny,
strange
dude.
little
It looks
egg.
like a little like
Carefully,
candied
she
corn.
breaks the plastic seal on
There
the
was
egg and
plastic
places
on that?
it inside the dollhouse. All of the doll furniture and little plastic choking hazards are gone.
Did she read the
Leaving only a
instructions?
pretty pink Victorian-style enclosure.
Are you
the
supposed
egg
to do
can safely
that?
Hatch. Now, all she has to do is wait.
I feel so bad for
Later
her.
that night, the girl wakes from a deep sleep to the sound of something
Oh
moving
my
inside the
god.
dollhouse.
Okay, so she did not tell her mom. She was supposed to tell her mom, but she didn't. When her obviously the mom came home at some point and she didn't mention anything. So yeah, like she has no idea that there is a random egg about to hatch.
The skitter of tiny legs. The rustling
Oh, I
of
hope it's not a
something inside the
spider.
formerly vacant
If it's a
dollhouse.
spider, I'm burning my
She sits
PC.
up and is about to go peek inside when a chill of fear runs down her spine.
What is it?
What if it's something horrible?
Yeah.
She doesn't know what kind of eggs those
I
were.
don't
She'd never
know
seen
either.
anything like them before.
I would probably
What if
not
it's a
just hatch
spider,
a random egg.
worm, or some other awful monstrous thing that
Ah!
can't
Oh
She brought
no,
it
it's a
into her
slug!
home, to where
It's
she
a
and her mom
slug!
sleep without even
Oh
questioning it.
god!
She sits for a moment. The only sound the rustling of the thing in the dollhouse.
I hope it's
and
like
her
a
own
Pikachu.
short, panicked breaths. Then there's another sound.
Oh,
Light and sweet, like a little bird chirping.
oh,
It's
that's
coming
nice.
From the dollhouse. Curiosity finally gets the better of her, and she opens the dollhouse. lifting the
What
roof
is
off.
that?
Inside, she spots it.
Is that a
Her new pet.
cat or a
Feathery
mouse?
soft fur, pastel pink and white, covers the
Huh?
little animal, which is currently exploring its new home delightedly. It flicks around
What
a poofy
is
little tail
that?
looks a bit
It looks like a
lavender
Furby.
feather duster, and stops to blink up at her with two large, friendly purple eyes.
Are we seeing this right?
Slowly, she reaches a hand down to pet the animal, and it nuzzles into her
What?
paw, body vibrating with something like a kitten's purr.
So it's like a cat hamster combination, maybe like a cat hamster guinea pig, and it's actually really cute.
Any tension she felt before melts out of her body as she realizes the packaging was not lying.
Well, at least
But the
it's not
pet
like a
in an
lion
environment
turtle
that
or
was
something
comforting,
scary.
Sweet, happy, a piece of childlike joy, and it had become the living embodiment of those things. For a brief moment, she wonders how she'll explain this new addition to the household, what she'll need to feed it, and what her mom will say. But then her new best friend chirps happily again, and all she can think is, this is going to be an amazing summer.
Okay, guys, so that pet fit exactly the description of like what her mom wanted, which is kind of what she wanted, which was like a tiny, cute, cuddly pet, not a fish, not something that was like too big or too small. So it's kind of like the perfect size. She can cuddle with it, and it's extremely friendly. So it kind of makes me wonder, is this SCP going to be exactly what you want it to be? So like, for example, if I were to hatch this little egg, and I was thinking like, oh, I want like a crocodile turtle, would it hatch as like a crocodile turtle combination? Could I just like make it be whatever pet I want it to be? I don't know if that's how it works, but that would be really cool if that's how it works.
Things worked out very well for the girl. Meanwhile, other families across town were screaming in horror as a tiny fire-breathing creature set
Whoa!
their face ablaze,
Oh, other
and
people
another
bought
slowly
it!
dropped down from the ceiling on a
Oh, I
silvery
didn't think
thread,
about that.
blending into the shadows. This girl was not the only child to bring home one of these miraculous pets and hatch it in her home.
What?
And other children were much less careful about
So-
where they put the eggs.
So she just got
Of
lucky.
course, the children weren't to blame here.
Oh, wait a second. So Dr. Bob just said an important detail there. The other kids weren't careful about where they put the egg. So maybe it's not what you're thinking of at the time that you place the egg down. Maybe it's more important where you place it. She placed it in like a princess dollhouse, which is cute. You know, it's probably going to make something that's cuddly and small. But like, let's say I place the egg next to a fireplace. Maybe then it would spawn in a baby fire dragon.
The blame lay with whoever was behind the design and widespread release of these odd little animals, also known as SCP-1550. SCP-1550
Is it bad that I want one of these
is a
eggs
species of
just to see what I could make?
artificially synthesized creatures of unknown classification who are highly adaptable to any given environment.
They look like
Their
monsters
larvae
from
will
Monsters,
develop,
Inc.
grow, and change to fit whatever setting their eggs are placed in.
Oh.
Though adult specimens vary greatly in appearance, they all have
Interesting.
markings on their underbelly that read, a Dr. Wondertainment trademark. Because of their highly adaptable nature, it is uncertain exactly what the original form of these creatures might look like. SCP-1550 eggs are 1 centimeter long, beige
That's
in
so
color,
tiny.
and stored in airtight plastic
That's like less
packaging
than the
that prevents
tip of
them
my
from hatching
pinky.
until they are exposed to the outside air. The SCP Foundation first discovered SCP-1550 after a collection of bizarre cardboard packages were found in the exotic pet section of a pet store. None of the workers had ever seen these packages before and had never even heard of SCP-1550 prior
Yeah,
to
I'm
being
always
asked about
curious,
it.
like, how does that
Packages were
even
brought
get
into
there?
Containment immediately and were found to each contain 6 SCP-1550 eggs in airtight containers.
Okay, so they all have
The
6.
original packaging also contained an instruction leaflet, which I've managed to get my hands on a copy of.
Okay, so there
It
are
reads,
instructions.
"Hey kids, your parents aren't letting you get a dog or cat? Don't fret. Buy a Dr. Wondertainment custom pet.
Oh my gosh.
Dr. Wondertainment's custom pet is far superior to an ordinary and boring cat or dog due to their original Adapto Eggs packaging, a Dr. Wondertainment invention. Just leave your custom pet Adapto Eggs around the house, and when they hatch, they'll fit right in. Perfect for apartments. To get your very own custom pets is easy, kids. Just put an egg in your house and break the plastic seal to give your new pet some air so it can hatch. Your new pet will be perfect for where you live, wherever you live. If your new custom pet seems lonely, just add another Adapto egg and get him a new friend.
What?
Dr. Wondertainment is not responsible for injuries or death caused by this or any other product.
Okay, I kind of feel like Dr. Wondertainment should be in charge of maybe some deaths or injuries from this product because they made the product and they know that this product is cuckoo. This product is insane.
Wondertainment custom pets are shipped out prefixed. Who exactly is this Dr. Wondertainment? A person? A corporation?
Yeah, we
A
don't
highly
know.
Intelligent octopus with a penchant for toy design?
Okay,
The
Dr. Bob
identity
is
of the
onto
force behind
something.
The trademark is undetermined, but whatever Dr. Wondertainment is, one thing is certain. The toys they create are highly unusual. Dozens of Wondertainment's creations have been contained by the SCP Foundation, including SCP-2855, SCP-2396, and
Okay.
SCP-111.
Is that one of the
They range
animals?
from useful to whimsical to downright destructive, and the motives behind each invention are currently unknown. SCP-1550 is just one in a long line of anomalous toys from the shadowy toymaker. And so, like they have with so many other Wondertainment products, the research staff at the Foundation decided to perform some exploratory tests on these supposed custom pets. First, one SCP-1550 egg was placed in a tank of seawater and left
Okay,
to
this is
hatch.
kind of cool.
When it did, it produced a specimen with gills all along its upper
Wow.
back behind its eyes, an array of flat and broad tails it could use to swim efficiently.
Guys, is it
Further
bad that I
examination
want to
of the
get these
creature
eggs
revealed
and
that it
test them?
excreted special mucus to protect its eyes from the salt water, and a swim
Whoa.
bladder that was discovered during dissection. The skin of the creature was a mottled blue, giving it natural camouflage in its seawater environment.
So they were not joking when they said that wherever you put the egg, it will adapt to whatever surroundings it's in. So I'm kind of curious, like obviously the SCP Foundation is doing some tests right now, but how intense can you make this? Like, can you put the egg in a fire? Could you put the egg in space? Could you put the egg like on another planet maybe? And then you can make Martians or Jupiter people or even people on Uranus? Who knows?
Next, the team decided to place an egg in fresh water and see what different adaptations were produced.
You're going to make a
tank was
mermaid.
filled with water from a river behind the testing site, and the egg was placed inside until it hatched. Interestingly,
What
this specimen
is
of
that?
SCP-1550 did not possess any gills, suggesting similar circumstances would not necessarily
So
produce the same adaptations.
it's like a mammal then.
Instead, this specimen had enlarged lungs and a thin, streamlined body for more efficient movement.
Yeah, it's like a dolphin.
Next, the team prepared a terrarium meant to simulate the ecosystem of a temperate forest and placed the next egg inside.
Ooh, it's gonna make like a
When it
squirrel.
hatched, it produced a specimen of SCP-1550 covered in a layer of brown fur, with a ridged underbelly resembling that of a snake.
What
It
is
also had a
that,
tail
dude?
consisting of large tentacles.
Are you
Along the ridged
serious?
underbelly,
That
there was
is
a
so
smooth patch of
cool.
Skin with the Dr. Wondertainment logo printed like a tattoo.
So it does kind of just
The team
combine
prepared
other
a different
existing
terrarium that
animals.
simulated a desert ecosystem and allowed an egg to hatch inside. The resulting specimen was cold-blooded, tan in color to blend in with the sand, and skilled at
Interesting.
burrowing quickly to protect itself
It's
from
kind of
outside
like a
stresses.
fox.
It was also, notably, 1 centimeter larger than the previous specimens. The final terrarium was made to simulate the environment of an average urban apartment. The egg
Okay,
that hatched
so
inside
it'll make like
produced
a
creature
cat.
with leathery
What?
skin and eyes placed similarly to those of a chameleon.
I thought for sure it would be
Neither
a
of the
cat.
specimen was noticeably friendlier than its predecessors.
Oh,
and it
wow.
acted more like a domesticated house pet than a wild animal.
So if you put the Wondertainment egg inside like a human house or an apartment, it'll be domesticated already. So you won't have to worry about it being like a wild animal.
Its most impressive adaptation was its method of eating. Behind the specimen's jaw
What?
were strands of baleen like those found in whales.
In a
which allowed
what?
The creature to filter feed on dust and crumbs from the terrarium floor.
That is so
After
weird.
these experiments proved successful, The research team decided to test the eggs in more extreme environments.
Yes, that's
One
what I
egg
want to
was placed
see.
in a vat of molten iron.
Can they
Promptly
survive?
burst into flames and was completely destroyed.
Oh,
The
okay.
researcher responded, "Well, what did you expect to happen?" Which seems like a fair point. The next egg was placed inside a vacuum chamber, which was then depressurized. The egg promptly exploded, covering the inside of the chamber in an unidentifiable slime. These two less than successful experiments led the research team to the conclusion that SCP-1550 eggs cannot survive in conditions that would be uninhabitable for any other animal.
Ah, okay, so you
There
can't
are
put them
limits
on
to the
different
creature's
planets.
adaptability. But what would happen to an egg placed in a hostile environment filled with something recognizable? A vacuum chamber was filled with seawater, and an egg was placed inside. The chamber was then pressurized to 15,750 psi. This time, the egg was not destroyed, but instead was able to
So they basically just made an environment like if you were at the deepest depths of the ocean.
successfully hatch. The resulting SCP-1550 specimen bore a heavy resemblance to several deep-sea creatures, most notably
Oh,
the
Charles
anglerfish.
Darwin would love
Like
to
the
get his
anglerfish,
hands on these
the creature
Easter
had a
eggs.
bioluminescent lure dangling from its forehead. It also had gills, dark gray
It looks
skin,
blind,
flat
too.
and webbed fins, and enlarged eyes twice the size of those found on other specimens.
Wow.
Its teeth were sharp and ridged, similar to those of a shark. The head researcher made a note on this portion of the experiment log, asking,
So it's basically
"Just what
like an
kind of child
anglerfish."
Dr. Wondertainment is trying to sell these things to that they could live in conditions where a creature like that could be kept as a pet. All adult specimens of SCP-1550 are kept in a sealed 5 meter by 5 meter terrarium, which
Aw.
simulates desert conditions.
So that means that the SCP Foundation took the little girl's like little fluffy Furby, which is so sad.
This terrarium is monitored via electronic surveillance, and each of the specimens is implanted with a tracking device.
Oh, okay.
If one or more
That's
of the
smart.
specimens escapes, the area is locked down until all of the creatures have been captured.
Okay,
and
guys,
placed
hear
back
me
in
out.
the
They could
terrarium.
make the most amazing
All
zoo with these
SCP-1550
custom
eggs
pets.
are kept in their packaging unless being used for testing. As the Foundation does not want the population of adult specimens to exceed 20 at any given time, excess specimens are terminated.
No.
Honestly, that makes me a little sad.
Yeah, me
I'd be
too.
happy to take them in if the research team can't keep them.
See? Me
But I
too.
digress. Having a pet is a big responsibility.
Well, I guess you got a
Some
fish
people
anyway.
just can't handle the risks and rewards that come with caring for an animal, especially one that can become an accidental weapon if you're not careful. If your child is begging you for a pet, maybe you should start them out with a goldfish first. The goldfish never burnt the house down.
Yeah,
so I suppose
that's a good point,
it's the first
Dr.
time for
Bob.
everyone.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be learning a little bit more about SCP-015-IT, better known as the Boogeyman.
Ben is in the middle of one of his regular night jogs through the park.
That kind of looks
He
like
loves
me.
running through this park at night. It's dark, the air is cool, and the sounds of the city that surround the park disappear.
Okay.
Offering peace, quiet, and a small reprieve from the busy
This
world.
is kind of scared. I guess he's in
He jogs
Italy.
along a path that
Italian
winds through
man.
the park and starts upon a section that is surrounded on both sides
What is
by
that in
tall
the
trees.
distance?
He follows the path around a sharp bend and is stopped in his tracks. Standing there in
Oh.
the middle of the track is a figure.
Is that
It has
Dwayne The
its
Rock
back to it
Johnson?
and isn't moving.
Probably
He's
not.
tall and so uniformly black that he almost disappears into the night. Whoever or whatever this is, he's scared of it. But the creature
Well, yeah.
doesn't move, and neither does he. He's
Okay.
frozen, unsure of what to do, when the creature suddenly turns his head towards him, revealing a pair of bright, glowing eyes.
Okay,
Runner
it's
so
time to
terrified he
skedaddle.
can't
Actually,
even scream. He
yeah,
falls
get
and
out of
crawls
there. You
backwards
should
in the
really,
dirt,
you should really
trying to
leave.
Get away from the creature.
Dude, get
The
out
creature
of
turns
there!
its body towards
Oh
him
my gosh.
and begins stepping forward. The runner
Oh
scrambles to
my
his feet
gosh,
and runs.
dude, he's gotta run.
Sprinting as
Yes,
hard and
go,
as fast
go,
as he
go.
can. Adrenaline pumping, heart pounding.
Comment down
trying
below
to put
what
as
you
much
guys would do in this
distance as he can
situation.
between himself and that.
Oh my gosh.
thing.
Oh my
His
gosh.
muscles burn.
I would
His
call
lungs
911
ache.
immediately. I don't know why he's not like talking to somebody.
Finally,
I
he's
would.
back at his house.
I mean, he did good, right? So he like turned around, he ran, he got out of there as fast as possible. But he's wearing headphones, which makes me believe that he's listening to music on some sort of phone, unless he's weird and he has like an iPod Nano from 1992. But okay, so he should have probably pulled out a phone, called 911, been like, "Hey, there's this like I don't know grizzly bear looking creature in the park. We should probably call PETA and get them out here to decide what to do with it." But he did everything else right. He ran home. He's doing okay. Hopefully he didn't get followed. But we know how these SCP videos normally go. And I have a bad feeling this guy's not going to survive the night.
He bursts through the door, locking and bolting it behind him.
His girlfriend is reading on the couch and doesn't understand what's going on.
Hey,
After struggling to
hey,
catch his
Jeremy,
breath,
you
he tries to
okay?
explain what he saw on the path, but his girlfriend just laughs. A giant man with glowing eyes. He was just seeing things in the dark.
Seriously? Seriously, girlfriend? Seriously, Susie? You're gonna laugh? After your boyfriend, covered in mud, he's sweating from head to toe, he looks like the abominable melting snowman right now, just told you a very serious story about how he was getting chased by a giant creature with glowing eyes. All right, even if you don't believe him, you should probably, I don't know, be a little bit more supportive and be like, hey dude, it's gonna be okay. I don't know what you saw, maybe you saw something, or maybe you were seeing things, but if anything, he is very scared right now, and he could probably use a hug.
It was probably a dog, nothing that would justify the panic he was now in.
That was not a dog.
The next day, he's left wondering if he really was mistaken. Those piercing, glowing eyes are burned into his mind, though. Maybe his girlfriend was right, and it really was just a dog.
No,
Yes,
she's
that must
gaslighting
be it.
him.
His mind was just playing tricks on him.
Don't
in the dark.
get gaslit,
Even
Jeremy.
so, he's going to stick to running inside, at least for a little while. But he soon finds that he's having a hard time. He
Why?
notices that he's running out of breath much quicker than normal. Is he coming down with something? He doesn't feel sick, but then why is he suddenly so weak?
Okay, guys, I wonder if this is kind of similar to some other SCPs that we've studied in the past, where you don't even really have to interact with the SCP. Some SCPs, all you have to do is look at them, and then you'll be infected with whatever this virus is that they can spread. So I'm starting to think that maybe all you have to do to get infected by the boogeyman is to look at him. And then maybe, I don't know, this is a wild theory, but maybe if you look at the boogeyman, you'll become the next boogeyman. Like maybe sooner than later, he'll become this giant beast that has like fur all over and has really big glowing eyes. And he just spends his nights in the park waiting for other people to infect.
2 weeks have passed since he saw something in the park. No one he brought it up to, not his friends, not his co-workers, have ever heard of such a thing.
What?
And no one seemed like they believed him either. At this
Seriously?
point, he's feeling sure that he really did imagine it.
This guy needs new
Get
friends.
that image of whatever it was out of his head. He can't keep running on a treadmill forever, though. He misses his night runs. It's time to get over his fear. He's running through—
Okay, also guys, the main thing that I'm thinking is like, just don't run in the same spot. Like if you're gonna go out on a night run, that's fine. Go to like a more populated area. Go to like a little part of the city that has lots of people, so then it's not gonna be as scary. You don't have to go back to the same park where it is pitch black and there is a potential boogeyman that is going to get you. You don't have to do that. Just go somewhere else.
through the park again, enjoying the silence and the light breeze on his skin. He continues down the path, acutely aware that he's getting closer and closer to the
This
spot where he
guy's
saw
dead.
that thing before.
This guy is so
He
dead.
can't stop, though. He has to prove to everyone that he's not afraid. He has to
You
prove it to
should be
himself.
afraid.
He reaches the part of the path that runs through the tall trees. Just like before, the sounds of the city melt
Stupid
away.
Italian
The only
man.
sound coming from his steady, heavy breathing. He
Dead.
follows the winding path.
He's dead.
And feels his heart starting to race.
He's dead. Turn
He has to
around.
keep going.
Turn around, dude.
He rounds the same corner, and nothing is there.
Oh my gosh. No.
He slows to a stop. Of course nothing is here. Nothing ever was. He really did imagine it. Or did he?
Doctor, but yeah, there he is. There he is. He was trying to get my guard down. I knew it. I
Today's file
knew
comes from
it.
the Italian branch of the SCP Foundation. SCP-015-IT. Also known as the Boogeyman.
So the boogeyman is an Italian man.
SCP-015-IT
Interesting.
is a humanoid entity that stands just under 2 meters tall. Its body is devoid of any hair, and its dark, black skin absorbs 98% of all light.
Italian
making it
men are
virtually
scary.
Invisible in low light. Its head lacks a nose or ears, but these missing features are hardly noticed.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of like a very burnt version of Shy Guy.
Because if you see 015-IT, its eyes are what demand all of your attention. While the boogeyman's skin is completely black, its eyes contain light-producing organs on the irises.
That is
causing
weird.
them to glow in the dark, like a deep-sea predator.
Oh,
Its
okay.
mouth contains 8 pointed teeth on both the upper and lower jaws.
That's
and
it?
a long 28-centimeter forked tongue.
Okay, this
The
thing
two
is just
tips of its
venom.
tongue each have a hollow needle-like organ that leads straight into its esophagus.
Oh,
More on what it
okay.
does with that specialized biological feature soon.
Physically, SCP-015-IT is rather slight,
Yeah,
but it is
weak.
surprisingly strong.
Skips
and
leg
easily
day.
able to overpower an adult human.
Oh.
Its skinny arms are much longer than an average human's, and each of its 4 fingers ends in a razor-sharp claw. It has also been shown to be quite resistant to physical injuries, and possesses the ability to heal wounds and damage to internal organs at a hyper-accelerated rate.
Okay, so I need to see this thing, the boogeyman, versus Shy Guy. Comment down below who you think would win. Personally, I think Shy Guy, but I mean, this thing seems like Shy Guy, like maybe had a brother or something, and they seem very similar.
SCP-015-IT is primarily active at night, which is unsurprising given its skin's natural camouflage in the dark. The boogeyman hunts mammals, with humans being its preferred prey, but it does not feed on flesh. Instead, SCP-015-IT draws its sustenance from the adrenaline and noradrenaline produced by its quarry.
Oh.
Adrenaline and noradrenaline are chemicals the body produces to increase heart rate, blood flow, and provide more energy to the muscles in moments of stress.
So that's kind of like, I'm pretty sure, Pennywise from the movie and the book It, where he's not actually that dangerous if you're not scared of him. Like, he feeds off of fear and adrenaline and the fact that, like, he'll look at your worst fears and then scare you, and then that makes him more powerful. But if you're not scared of him, then he won't actually hurt you, which is pretty strange.
Or in the case of SCP-015-IT, extreme fear. And it has developed a hunting method to cause this exact reaction in humans. 015-IT will usually hide in dark spots, trying to keep out of sight as much as possible.
That makes sense.
Its next victim.
Everybody is pretty scared of the
If
dark.
it has been able to remain unseen, it will wait for a moment when its prey has become distracted, so it can silently approach them. Once close enough, it will leap towards its unaware victim, grab them, and quickly bite them on the side of the torso, near where the adrenal gland is located. It uses its large teeth to anchor its mouth in place, as it uses the needles on its forked tongue to probe into their body.
No.
With one needle,
Ew.
it pierces directly into the adrenal gland and begins draining the blood that is now rich with
Wow.
fear-induced adrenaline. At the exact same time, the other needle releases a mild sedative, allowing 015-IT to feed and then depart without risk, as the victim remains immobile.
Wow.
Another anomalous...
So it doesn't even seem like the victims would die, right? I mean, like they got like a giant bite in their side, but it's kind of like a snake bite almost. Just like instead of with 2 teeth, 2 fangs, it's like 8 fangs in your body. It probably doesn't feel that great, but it doesn't look like this thing is like chomping away. It's more like just trying to grab you and then stick the needle in you, steal your adrenaline, and then just leave and then do it again. Like, it doesn't want to kill you, I don't think.
effect occurs when someone is unlucky enough to actually see the boogeyman. Roughly 2 weeks after observing the creature, the person who saw it will begin experiencing various detrimental mental effects, including hallucinations and panic attacks.
Okay,
Some
so it
will
does
also
infect
begin
your
to
mind.
Experience physical issues, most often damage to the cardiovascular system. It is unknown why exactly these mental and physical effects occur, but it is theorized that SCP-015-IT may use it as a way to weaken certain prey that it considers too strong or potentially dangerous.
That makes sense.
In 2011, the boogeyman was actually contained. But not by the SCP Foundation. The Brotherhood of St. George's Knights is a secret order in the Catholic Church that was created by the Pope in the year 453.
Okay.
To either contain or eliminate all anomalies.
So the church caught the boogeyman. Just to make that abundantly clear, the church, not the SCP Foundation. It was the church.
It was this group that first captured SCP-015-IT, which they designated as DIA-212, in line with their own classification system. While it was in their containment, they made a number of discoveries about the creature that they labeled as a shadow demon.
Look at it in the background.
First, they found that while it feeds on the fear of its victims by ingesting their blood, it doesn't actually require this to survive. DIA-212, as they call it, is an unstable entity, and feeding allows it to maintain its physical shape in our reality.
Okay.
In addition to its impressive physical strength, the boogeyman is also quite intelligent, as seen by its ability to successfully hunt, attack, and...
So I don't know if you guys caught that, but Dr. Bob said that it needs to feed to keep its form in our reality, which kind of makes me think that maybe this creature is not from our reality at all. Maybe it's from an alternate dimension, a parallel universe, and for whatever reason, or like, yeah, just it's not from here, but in order to stay here, it needs to feed, which is why it does.
Escape from humans. Strangely, it also appears to be resistant to weapons which have been blessed, causing only a fraction of the physical damage that they should when compared to a similar, non-holy version.
So this thing is a
During
demon.
the course of research into the creature, Father Ilardi, a member of the Brotherhood of St. George's Knights, wrote that despite the creature being repugnant beyond every limit, he believed that it had a gentle soul, and that its screams are similar to a pained cry. He postulated that SCP-015-IT may have even once been a human before some dark force transformed it into the monster that it had become.
No
He
way.
decided that it was his mission to find a way to communicate with the creature, and one day, bring it back into the light and love of his god. Father Ilardi was making good progress with the creature.
How?
And it seemed like it was even growing fond of him and his disciples.
What? No, guys. We already talked about how this thing is intelligent. This thing clearly understood what the pastor wanted, and then was just doing the things that it thought it had to do to get the trust of the pastor, so that he could just break out and then do the exact same thing all over again. Like, I think that it's actually way smarter than we think.
But his advances were halted when they were attacked by a group of soldiers from the Fascist Council of the Occult,
Or
a
maybe
terrorist
not.
group that seeks to use anomalies as weapons in their quest to disrupt the social order. In the attack, several of the Brotherhood were killed, and in the commotion, SCP-015-IT escaped. Following this, reports soon began to come from the province of Caserta that described what sounded like vampire attacks. A mobile task force was
That's
sent to
the
area, and
boogeyman!
while 015-IT was initially able to make use of its various physical abilities to evade and escape capture, it was eventually shot with a transmitter that allowed it to be tracked.
What?
The Italian mobile task force was able to surround the creature, but fearing being contained again, it responded with a level of violence that it had not been thought capable of. Several members of the task force were killed in the line of duty before the boogeyman could finally be subdued.
Okay, so back to what I was saying earlier, I don't think the boogeyman is as strong as Shy Guy. Shy Guy, even though Shy Guy, I think, was contained, Shy Guy is a monster when it is trying to attack and hurt somebody else. Like, if you look at Shy Guy, it will literally be able to break out of anything, and it will find you and end you. But for Boogeyman, I don't think Boogeyman is, like, as powerful as Shy Guy anymore. But comment down below what you think.
Today, SCP-015-IT is contained at Site Vittoria in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. Since this anomaly is both sentient and highly unpredictable in its behavior, it has been classified as Euclid. It is kept in a standard humanoid entity containment cell and is monitored by video cameras and infrared sensors at all times. Due to the light-absorbing properties of its skin, its cell and the adjacent corridors are painted white and are to be kept well lit at all times.
Smart.
Twice a day, SCP-015-IT is given a normal domestic pig that it is allowed to feed on. Any personnel assigned to 015-IT duty must undergo a psychological assessment on a weekly basis, and, regardless of the results, must be cycled out after 3 months of exposure to the boogeyman.
That makes
Now
sense.
go and watch